Hey Lexi, back in 1995, the WWE, then WWF, presented one of my all-time favorite pay-per-views, the second edition of their In Your House series. So what do you say we watch that show and talk about it?
Sounds good.
Then let's get the conversation started. Hello and welcome to LexiCon. It is Maddie.
Lexi.
Dylan.
And it's my birthday!
Yay!
Happy birthday, Maddie!
Technically not as of this recording, but by the time this episode goes up, it will in fact be my birthday.
Yes.
And if you want to help me celebrate, you can do so by checking out our Patreon and becoming a patron. Patreon.com/LexiConvo. You can show some cool stuff like monthly stickers by Alex, access to bonus pods, and it would give me a very, very happy birthday. So please do so if you're so inclined.
Why is your phone making noises?
And as I said, on this episode, we're going to be watching a pay-per-view that took place 5 days before my birthday, 29 years ago. And as it happens, I'm turning 29 this year. Or something like that. Anyway.
You're 6 years older than me, Dad?
Okay, now you just made it weird.
Yeah, the one who said you're turning 29.
Anyway, even though this is one of the shorter WWE pay-per-views, part of their shorter series that was meant to fill in the months where they didn't have one of the so-called Big Five pay-per-views, it's still almost 2 hours long, so we're going to go ahead and get right into it. If you're watching along with us on Peacock, you're going to want to navigate to Premium Live Events, In Your House, Season 1, Episode 2. Unlike most of the pay-per-views on there, this actually has multiple events during their seasons, like WrestleMania 1 is Season 1, WrestleMania 13 is Season 13, but there were, as I say, multiple In Your Houses during the year, so you actually get, it actually kind of makes sense to list it as a season, unlike the other pay-per-views or premium live events, but as I say, it'll always be pay-per-views to me. And of course, if you're watching along in some other medium, just make sure you're what we call zeroed out, so that when we all press play, you're going to go right into the show, no FBI warnings or previews or don't try this at home warnings, which I don't even know if they did that on WWE shows back in 1995, but you get my drift. And of course, if you're not watching along, we will try to be entertaining enough to satisfy you, but I mean, results vary, so. Alright, so I said it was under Premium Live Events, and these two can vouch for me. It was just a few minutes ago, but now I had to find it under Legacy pay-per-views. But either way, if you're watching along on Peacock, just find the In Your House section. Again, it's Season 1, Episode 2, and of course, if you're watching on your own media, that won't be a problem. And if you're not watching along, then hey, just sit back and enjoy the ride. But for those who are watching along with us, I'm going to give you a countdown, as always, 3, 2, 1, play, and we'll all play together on play. Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so without any further ado, WWF, now WWE, In Your House, from July 1995, in 3, 2, 1, play. The World Wrestling Federation.
Yay!
And now they changed it to entertainment. Oh my god, back then it was the World Wrestling Federation for over 50 years, the revolutionary force in sports entertainment. But I swear it just said entertainment, like World Wrestling Entertainment, like they changed the intro. I'd have to actually go back and watch it to hear it, because of course we have the volume down and we're relying on the captions. So maybe just the captions are changed. So maybe if you're watching it, you're going to hear the World Wrestling Federation, but you look at the caption, it says the World Wrestling Entertainment.
That's annoying.
Man, Sean looked good back then. Like, I'm not saying I want to fuck him, but if I look like that, I'd be happy with myself.
I don't have strong feelings towards Sean.
You got Jeff Jarrett singing a lot here in the intro, because he had come into the WWF doing a country singer gimmick, and he's actually going to do a quote-unquote live performance, even though he's not out. He's going to be lip-syncing, and somebody else actually did the singing. But that's a part of the show, because they're in Nashville, which is in Tennessee, which is where Jeff Jarrett's from. Of course, he made his name in his father's Memphis wrestling promotion, sometimes called the USWA.
Doesn't he have connections to Taylor Swift?
I've heard that Taylor Swift was a babysitter for his kids. I can't personally verify that, but that is what I've heard.
Interesting. She too got her started in Tennessee.
Yeah, so I mean...
chocolate milk.
I'm not saying it's incorrect. I'm just saying that I can't personally verify it.
I do think they were around the same area.
I thought you were about to say the same age. I'm like...
No.
Jeff's older than me,
yeah,
so...
very much. How old is he?
Older than me. That's the best I got. I don't know his exact age.
Just somewhere.
I mean, Taylor Swift's younger than you, but still.
I mean, he could be as much as 20 years older than me. Probably not. But I'd say he could be as much as that. That's how his name is spelled. And here's the one drawback to this show. Vince McMahon was on commentary. And it's a drawback both if you're listening to the commentary and, of course, because of the most recent revelations about him make him kind of disgusting. But he's just one of the commentators, so it's not during the time where he was featured as a performer, so we shouldn't have to deal with him too much. And of course, his co-host is Jerry the King Lawler, who was a big part of the aforementioned Memphis promotion, the King of Memphis.
Yeah, with his crown on his hat.
Yeah, it's an interesting look.
Yeah.
Sort of reminiscent of the look Jim Ross would adopt when he got back into prominence as an announcer for WWE with the black cowboy hat.
It's nothing like it, but it makes me think of this preppy trend from young Gen Z, older Gen Alpha, the pink cowgirl hat with the tiara on it.
I thought you were going to say it looked like a toy crown that we had, because I think it really does.
I mean, yeah, it probably does. It looks like something they pick up at Dollar Tree.
And normally, Law would be wearing a more ornate crown that had like the big puffy kind of top on it. That was sort of his signature style.
British coronation sort of crown.
Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett is 57. His birthday was earlier this month.
So 12 years older than me, so about that. Oh, no, wait, I'm 29, so... Wow, so he's 28 years older than me. No, 18 years old. What did you say it was, 57?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's 28 years older than me. Wow. I was short.
His birthday's 2 weeks before yours.
Sean Waltman, the 1-2-3 Kid, opening up the show. I first saw Sean wrestling as the Lightning Kid back in the Global Wrestling Federation in 91, 92. Mm-hmm. And then he would come to WWF and become the 1-2-3 Kid. Then he would go to WCW and join the NWO as 6, and then come back to the WWF and join DX as X-Pac.
Interesting.
And we're watching a flashback here where Jeff Jarrett and his roadie, the roadie, were attacking X-Pac. The roadie is Brian Armstrong, who also goes by the name Brian James, would become most famous as the Road Dogg, Jesse James, one half of the New Age Outlaws, and a member of the aforementioned DX along with X-Pac. At this point, he's basically just Jeff Jarrett's manager. He's not even really a full-time wrestler.
Uh-huh.
And he's doing the gimmick of being his roadie. In fact, after the match, he's going to go pretend like he's checking on the setup for Jeff's live performance. And I think he actually is the one who sang the song that Jeff will perform.
Interesting.
But this is a good match. This is probably the second best match on the show. There's one match of the year caliber match on the show. And nothing is really bad on the show. Even the main event, which isn't a great match, has helped because it's a lumberjack match. You have a lot of guys with a lot of action. Mm-hmm. But overall, I really did enjoy the show. Like I said, it's one of the shorter shows. It's only 2 hours long because that's what the In Your House pay-per-views were back then. But it feels like they really pack a lot into those 2 hours. And I really enjoyed it from start to finish. It's, like I say, it's probably in my top 10 pay-per-views of all time.
Yeah.
And only some of that is nostalgia. It's a really solid show. I really liked WWF in 1995. I'm not saying it was the best wrestling action, but I actually preferred it to WCW at the time.
That was interesting.
The spinning back kick.
Yeah.
Spinning back kick.
WCW had become too Hulk Hoganized, and it just wasn't near as like I really checked out in '94, and they had some good stuff in '95. I don't know if we'll watch anyone on the podcast, but I did enjoy some of WCW. But I was really gravitating more toward the WWF at this time. I really liked the so-called new generation guy, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Diesel, Razor Ramon, 1-2-3 Kid, even Undertaker. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed WWF in 1995. I wouldn't try to pretend it's one of their best years.
But it was a good year.
But I dug what they were offering. Like I say, after the 1994, there were some great matches, but it was also a really kind of a disappointing year in wrestling for me. And like I said, especially with Hogan taking over WCW and WWF kind of trying to find its way. They went with Bret for a while, but then they transitioned from Bret to Backlund to Diesel as the main guy, and it was a little up and down. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there was stuff going on in my real life that sort of led me away from wrestling for a while too. But 1994 was kind of a down year for me, and I really kind of got back into it during 1995. Not that I ever stopped watching. I just wasn't as into it day to day in 94 as I would be prior to that and into 1995, and then of course into 96, and then into the Attitude Era, which is really the butter zone for me in wrestling. Mm-hmm. Although I really enjoyed wrestling in the early 90s too when I first got into it. So I had those good first few years, and then 93 and especially in 1994 I kind of tailed off. And then starting with 1995 and then into the Attitude Era, really got back into it heavy.
We have more cats joining us.
But I don't want to suggest that I always paid attention to what was going on. Mm-hmm. And like Jeff is not paying attention right here. They're showing, wow, he's not even watching his friend's match. He's getting ready for his singing debut.
I don't like his look.
I like it fine. To me, he had the second best ring gear in the WWF at the time behind Shawn Michaels. Maybe third, because I still like Bret's look. Bret's look never really changed once he adopted the pink and black.
I'm not vibing with the animal print or the color of his hair.
Yeah, well, that's not his ring gear either, to be fair.
Yeah.
But I thought Jarrett's look was cool. I really liked Jeff Jarrett. I had read about him in the wrestling magazines, of course, when he was in Memphis. And then I was excited when he finally came to the WWF because I thought he had a reputation as a good wrestler, and I always enjoyed his matches. I mean, he was a heel most of the time, so of course
I was gonna say
you were supposed to boo him, but I never felt like he had that kind of go away heat where I just didn't want to see him. I enjoyed his work as a heel.
One of my friends who watches wrestling often can't stand him, calls him asshole.
Yeah.
Won't even call him by his name.
No, I like Jeff Jarrett a lot. I've always enjoyed his performances, pretty much in any I liked him when he went to WCW in '97. I liked him when he came back to the WWF. I've enjoyed him in TNA. Jeff's a good worker. I enjoy his performances.
I'm not thinking of the word that I need.
Who knows, Jeff?
No, Kid.
Really?
He seems to do a lot of the jumping sort of stuff.
High flyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sort of a Japanese style, if you're familiar with that. From what I've heard, I haven't even seen that much Japanese wrestling.
We should watch some more Japanese wrestling. But I'm liking watching Kid right now.
Kid was a good performer. His matches with Jerry Lynn in GWF in '91 to '92 were really good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's a very good worker.
Where can we access Japanese wrestling?
New Japan has a streaming service. Dylan and I actually had a subscription to it for a little while. That's where we watched the supposed greatest match ever between Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada, which wasn't.
That good?
It was good. I didn't think it was that good. And I mean, part of it is context. Like, if you're following the feud and you've seen their other matches, that does make a difference. And also seeing it live as it happens and not knowing what's going to happen is different than watching it in hindsight when you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a totally good match, but I would not consider it the greatest match of all time. And
Understandable.
And I'm not saying everybody does, but it's the highest rated match in the history of Dave
I was going to
Meltzer's.
say, the graphics are
Wrestling
so
Observer.
90s.
Well, 1995.
Yes, they are.
I mean, yeah, but right there in the heart of the 90s. But yeah, so 90s.
You want to hear something weird about that? And I'm going off on a tangent, but, I watch a lot of Mythbusters. It's like one of my favorite shows to go to sleep to.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite shows, period. And I think it started in 2002.
Damn, that long ago?
Well, okay, but still, New Millennium show, so a fairly recent
yeah.
show. And it ran through, like, maybe 2015 or so. I know it ended sometime when we were doing the podcast.
Yeah.
But at some point, of course, the look of the show changed. I imagine they went from shooting on film or shooting on video to digital video, which is going to look different. And they started using different techniques, and they would produce the show differently. So it makes sense. But I go back and watch those very earliest episodes now, which were clearly shot on video, and it feels like an 80s show. It feels like something that would have been on, like, 1985. But it was like 2002. And I'm sitting here like, yeah, man, that was Mythbusters back in the 80s. And it's like, nope. It's just so weird.
That was my lifetime. Oh, by the way, the premiere date was January 23rd, 2003.
Okay. Well, they might have been shot. They were probably shot in 2002 then, since they debuted in January. Because they did that initial 3-episode run, and then they had a full season.
Yeah.
There's another big kick from Kid.
I did not realize Mythbusters was that old.
Okay, we always do it. Rate the guys' ring outfits. I point out how I like, Jeff and Sean and Brett were my favorites at the time.
I mean, it's not bad.
Kid has a similar style to Brett with the singlet and the long tights, but he's got the higher boots with the knee pads more designed for kicking, which makes sense because of his arsenal.
I was going to say, his look is definitely similar to Brett's. It seems kind of standard, general, etc. It's not my sort of vibe, but I do like it. Like, it's not bad.
Now, see,
He's definitely got his branding going.
Standard
on.
would be just the basic trunks, like the underwear-looking tights.
The pants,
or maybe just long tights, or maybe just the singlet. But this is a little more unique to me when you have the singlet and the long tights.
I feel like there's a few things that qualify as standard. Like, it's a range, it's a spectrum.
And of course, Rhodey's basically just got like workout clothes on. It doesn't even look like wrestling.
Yeah.
Although you see guys like Tommy Dreamer and Sandman and Terry Funk wear stuff like that around this time, so it's really not that unusual. And he does actually have wrestling boots on, as opposed to people wearing sneakers in the ring, which is fairly common.
Anybody wearing cowboy boots in the ring?
Well, yes, but like we've said, they have like the heels filled in, because like cowboy boots would have that big heel,
yeah,
and you'd have that gap between the heel and the toe. And that part would be filled in. There are cowboy style wrestling boots, like Dustin Rhodes, I know, famously wore them in the '90s before he became Goldust. Barry Windham wore them back then.
The blue guy has the better outfit.
Yeah, well, like I said,
yes,
the one with 1, 2, 3 printed all over the outfit.
The one with
blue
his name
guy,
literally on his tights.
The blue guy.
Blue guy.
It's funny, there was a wrestler named the Blue Meanie. And for a while in ECW, he and Stevie Richards and Nova and some other guys did a parody of the NWO. And one of the members of the NWO was Scott Hall, who was also the bad guy. And Blue Meanie became the blue guy. Road Dogg picked up the win there with a neat move. He did a pile driver off the middle rope. It was a little sloppy. And hopefully nobody got hurt with it and they did it safely. But I thought it looked pretty cool, and I thought it was a unique finish. little dance from Roadie there. Like I said, Road Dogg wasn't even really a full-time wrestler, at least in the WWF at this time. He was basically Jarrett's manager.
Yeah.
Like I said, he would become a more full-time wrestler. He would actually come back in a couple years after Jarrett left as Jeff Jarrett was Double J Jeff Jarrett, and he would come back as the real Double J Jesse James, and it would be revealed that he sang the song that Jarrett lip-synced over. And then...
Jesse and James?
Well, there was a famous outlaw named Jesse James, too, so... here's the pile drive.
But Pokemon is better.
Plus 90s and 2000s.
There's like I say, not the greatest looking move, but I thought it was pretty cool. You don't see pile drivers off the turnbuckles too much. I thought it was a good finish.
I have a kitty cat.
And now Roadie's going to go over there and do his job as the roadie, check in with the band, make sure everything's good.
Okay. That's a
1, 2, 1, 2. I mean, it makes sense with the character.
Yeah.
He's Jarrett's number one roadie, and Jarrett's going to
It's like, let me wrestle a match? Okay, now I gotta go check the equipment. Now I was gonna ask, would anybody in this room wear cowboy boots?
I probably have, but I doubt I would now. Unless it was for a cosplay.
I was gonna say nowadays, would you? What about you, Gaba?
What?
Would you wear cowboy boots? Silence as you go into deep thought about that.
In the show, we're back in the locker room with Todd Pettengill interviewing Ted DiBiase's $1 Million Corporation. Ted DiBiase was a great wrestler who was now just the manager. I think injuries took him out of the ring, and you've got over his shoulder, well, you can't see him now, but over his shoulder was King Kong Bundy and IRS, a.k.a. Mike Rotunda, who was the father of Bray Wyatt, the guy with the glasses back there. And then next to him is, at the time, he's Kama. His real name is Charles Wright. He was famous as the Godfather during the Attitude Era. He was also Papa Shango. The big blonde guy is Sid. He's going to be wrestling for the world title on this show. And the Native American gentleman is Tatanka.
Yep. I don't have anything to say about any of those guys.
Don't want to rate any of their... Because they're all in their ring gear, so you could rate their looks if you could get a good look at them.
The blonde guy is annoying me. Gear-wise that I can see, I probably like the guy currently talking's best so far.
I think he's just got a red singlet on, maybe some gloves. He was doing like an MMA-style fighter gimmick. He was supposed to be a takeoff on the MMA fighter Chemo, and so he was Kama.
Yeah, Tonka... I'm not crazy about his ring gear, but otherwise he looks fine.
He just wore he had like blue trunks with like a Native American sort of... I don't even know what you call it.
I'm not sure what it's called either.
Not a loincloth exactly, but...
No, but some sort of...
Sid was a guy with a great body, had a lot of charisma, was not particularly good in the ring. And now we go to the babyface locker room with the merchandise man. I can't...
Diesel's dressing room.
Barry something, yeah. Diesel would be the tall guy back there, and you see the Diesel and Sid t-shirt. Not the best t-shirt.
No.
ECW really revolutionized the marketing of...
Parts of this looks like it was
shirts.
designed on some...
They had some good shirts back then.
Lower-end program from the 90s.
They would get better, though, especially like Austin 316.
Like, who do we have here now?
It's Diesel and Shawn.
I like Diesel's look more than Shawn.
Oh, Shawn's my guy back then.
No, I like Diesel.
They had just wrestled in the main event of WrestleMania earlier this year, and then Shawn did a babyface turn when Sid, who we saw in the $1 Million Man locker room, turned on him. Sid was his bodyguard, but he turned him, and then Shawn turned babyface. And he's going to be wrestling Jarrett for the Intercontinental title tonight in the aforementioned Match of the Year candidate. But see, we're moving right along here. We get some interviews. We promote the main event, promote the merchandise, and then we're right back into another match.
Yay, more match.
This is Mo and Mabel, Men on a Mission. Mm-hmm. The Nelson Frazier, the bigger of the two, a.k.a. Mabel, rest in peace, had just won King of the Ring. As you see, the previous month, we're cutting to it now to set him up to challenge Diesel in a bad idea for a main event at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be wrestling, they're going to be wrestling Razor Ramon and Savio Vega, I believe, because they're showing where they had
Yes.
an event between them.
Shall we duel like Pokemon?
No. Because that cat's leaving.
Oh, I think my cat's going to duel.
We're doing a show here.
The cats.
They're going back to the arena now. There they go.
They're going to go do their own wrestling match.
They're gone.
288 pounds.
Wow.
Nelson Frazier was not 288 pounds. I'm sure he was close to 500. And here comes Savio Vega and Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
Savio Vega, also known as TNT in Puerto Rico. Razor Ramon, real name Scott Hall, also rest in peace. That's the unfortunate thing about...
Recently, too.
Yeah, a couple years ago.
Recently.
Yeah. That's the unfortunate thing about going back and watching a lot of these pay-per-views from the 90s. A lot of these guys aren't with us anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of that's natural because, I mean, they're 30s and 40s, so 30 years on, okay, that makes sense. But there's, as we've talked about before, unfortunately, a preponderance of young deaths in the wrestling community for a variety of reasons.
Scott Hall looks like he should be on the cover of a romance novel.
Okay. You may be the first person to ever say that. Maybe not the first one to ever think it.
I doubt I'm the first one to say it, honestly. I mean, this was almost 30 years ago, wasn't it?
I like Scott Hall I liked him as the Diamond Stud in WCW, actually, in the early 90s when I first got into wrestling.
Honestly, based on all this, I feel like it was very much thought when his career was starting.
And, he looked a lot. He had like a big afro when his career started.
Okay, maybe later.
Yeah, he had like a big afro and like a blonde mustache. He looked a lot different early in his career.
At some point in time, though, they were like, this guy should be on the romance novel. This is how we're marketing him.
Well, this was basically his look as the Diamond. He was a little bigger as the Diamond Stud, but he had the slick back hair with like the one curl hanging in front. And he had the toothpick. I mean, this character is something of a takeoff on the Scarface character. But as far as the overall look, it's not that different from the Diamond Stud look that he adopted in WCW in the early 90s. But like I said, I was a fan of his as Diamond Stud and as Razor Ramon. As just himself as part of the NWO, I liked him so much, but he was also somewhat inconsistent. I know he had a lot of personal issues during that time. He was still a good performer, but like I say, because of personal issues and just maybe it was ego too, and just like, look, I'm only going to do what I want to do. He wasn't a consistent enough performer, and he kind of got irritating. But when he was ready to go, he was good.
Yeah.
And of course, I've also learned a lot of backstage antics of his over the years that sort of make me like him less as a person overall. I mean, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, of course, and I wasn't there.
Understandable.
But at this point, I was a fan. He was never my favorite by any means.
I'm currently not crazy about his outfit.
Yeah.
The design of it.
I mean, they're not subtle about it at all.
I was gonna say, like, the general clothes, types of clothes he's wearing is fine, but the actual design of them, it's like, that could have been better.
I mean, that would be his ring gear pretty much from Diamond Stud on, just the trunks and the boots and the knee pads and the elbow pads, but the ornamentation, the design of it would be somewhat altered. Like during the NWO era, he would have like sort of a drippy look to the back.
Interesting.
He might have had Hall on it.
Could have drip.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of what it looked like. It was designed to look like a paint, you know, like that paint drip where you have like the...
Yeah.
I'm doing it in the air and nobody can see it on the podcast. But you guys
Honestly, we can hardly see it too, because we have the lights off. But we do know what you're talking about.
Who needs lights?
Savio made a return to WWE
Just to see.
for one night. I want to say last year when they did the pay-per-view in Puerto Rico. He came out during the big Anything Goes match with Bad Bunny and Damian Priest.
Yeah.
Lots of guys made an appearance in that, but Savio Vega, a.k.a. TNT, was one of them. Savio Vega is a guy Steve Austin credits a lot with really helping him get back into the groove when he first came to the WWF. They had a series of really good matches, and Austin gives Savio a lot of credit because Austin, he'd been out of the ring a lot with an injury. That's what got him fired in WCW, and he wrestled a little bit in ECW, and then came back to WWF, and Savio really helped him develop his style in the WWF, which would, of course, lead to the Austin 316 and the greatest run ever in the history of professional wrestling, at least the modern era.
Aye.
Like you can say Hogan was a bigger star for longer, but I don't think he was a bigger star over a short period than Austin was.
Yeah.
I mean, Austin 316 was ubiquitous at that time.
Yeah. Definitely big names, both of them, though.
Yeah, but
To be fair, some big names in this match right now, too. Maybe not to that level.
Hulk Hogan's
But
a
in
racist,
general.
Trump-supporting douchebag who showed up at the RNC to stump for Trump in what was an obvious grab for publicity for himself, because he's not even relevant in his own industry at this point, much less on the mainstream. And you saw all those mouth-breathing maggots just cheering away for him like he was some big celebrity in 2024. It was all pretty embarrassing, but
I'm sorry.
just shows you why I really turned away from WCW once Hulk Hogan came around.
Yeah.
Not that I could see the future, but
Who's the guy in the red?
Savio
Okay.
Vega, formerly known as TNT in Puerto Rico.
Interesting.
Also was, I think, Quang in the WWF for a little while under a mask. A year or so before this.
I think so.
Yeah, I believe so. Not somebody. I mean, I was watching at the time, but like I said, I wasn't necessarily watching every week. So guys who didn't have a lot of appearances,
Yeah.
I could sort of miss. But I mean, I've gone back and watched a lot since then and read a lot about
I'd say that
these years in wrestling.
Like one of the
Yeah,
names
I think he was Quang, and I think
Conan.
Conan was supposed to be Max Moon, and he may have been in the suit once or twice, but I think Paul Diamond actually wrestled in the suit as well. And then there's also a character named Lasertron, which was one of the Guerrero brothers. I think it was Hector, but I don't even know if that was in WWF.
Yeah.
And they also had Techno Team 2000, which was Eric Watts, and I'm not sure who his partner was. But that's another team that I don't remember seeing at all, even though I did watch the shows, but they were one of those, if you didn't watch week after week, and if you weren't going to the house shows, I guess you could just miss them, because they weren't being heavily featured.
Makes sense.
Mabel was certainly being heavily featured this summer. Like I said, he'd won King of the Ring. A lot of people thought Shawn was going to win King of the Ring in 1995 after he didn't beat Diesel for the title at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But they went with Mabel so he could be Diesel's challenger at SummerSlam, and Shawn would go on to get the Intercontinental title at this pay-per-view. Spoilers for a 29-year-old show.
So I remember Mabel winning. That was not what I expected from that, though.
No, like I said, I think the betting money was probably on Shawn at the time.
Yeah.
Following the footsteps of Brett in 93 and then Owen in 94.
Yeah.
Yeah, King of the Ring really kind of went downhill after the first one. Well, the first pay-per-view. It had been an annual event for the house shows dating back into the 80s. But 93 was the first pay-per-view version of it. And it was a great tournament. And Brett was outstanding in his 3 matches. And not that Owen was bad, but the tournament just wasn't booked well in 94. Mm-hmm. And in 95, kind of the same thing. And you had Mabel winning. And no disrespect to Mabel, but obviously he wasn't a great hand in the ring. But it was done to set him up as the child. And I feel like you could have had Shawn win, although... Yeah, that would have been before the Intercontinental. So you could have had Shawn win and go on to wrestle Jeff for the Intercontinental title at this show. And you still could have established Mabel as a challenger. He could have just, they could have had a tag team match and he could have beat up Diesel after the match. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't have been hard to set him up as a challenger if you really wanted to have that match, which I don't know why you would. But they were still kind of going off the Hulk Hogan Monster of the Week idea back then. You got the big champion, and then you got these big guys who you could see as a threat to him. But then, of course, when you put him in with a smaller worker like Brett or Shawn, he's going to have the best matches. Just, they seem to have that idea that, maybe the smaller guys shouldn't be seen as equals to the big guys.
Interesting mindset, I guess.
I mean, look, in general, in real life, unless you're a really accomplished fighter, the bigger guy's probably going to have the advantage.
True.
As long as he can get a hold of you.
True.
But it doesn't mean the smaller guy can't win a fight.
Exactly.
And of course, this is a world of fantasy largely, so you can make anybody seem credible that you want to if you do it properly. I've heard the argument that pro wrestling doesn't look like a real fight or even a real combat sport like mixed martial arts, and I would disagree with that. I think sometimes it does, and the main thing is, when done properly, it should look like a real struggle. And parts of it do look like a real fight, and parts of it do look like a real athletic contest, and then parts of it are fantastical. It's sort of like a Hollywood movie fight, where parts of that don't look realistic, but you still can buy into it and feel like it's a real struggle.
Mm-hmm. I was going through my messages because I was pretty sure my friend had told me about this show specifically. Yeah. I finally found those messages, and there was one point during this match, he described something that happened. I'm like, oh damn, I bet that was impressive to see. Me sitting here watching the match, having no memory of that moment.
What was it?
I don't know if we've got into it or not. It was Mabel on the top rope, and he's just slamming him off.
I don't recall seeing that. I was running my mouth a lot, but I don't think that had happened.
It may not have happened yet, but I'm just saying, like, watching the match, I wasn't keeping an eye out for it or anything.
That would probably be near the finish if it's not the finish. And actually, I'm sure, I would imagine Mabel and Mo win because, like I say, Mabel's being set up to challenge Diesel at the pay-per-view the month after this, so I'm sure they probably win the match, but that could still be toward the finish.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, like, I had completely forgotten about that. Meanwhile, we're sitting here watching the show.
Actually, I have really good memories of this show. It's always been one of my favorites. And it might be my favorite In Your House of all time.
Yeah. How many of these did they do?
In Your House? Mm-hmm. I would have to count or look at the list, and I can't look at the list while this is going on. But like I said, it was designed to be the off-month show. Like, they had the big 5 pay-per-views, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, King of the Ring, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. Mm-hmm. And then they added this to be the show for any month they didn't have one of the big 5. I believe this might be the spot coming up here. May look like he's going up at the top rope.
Yeah.
Although Ramon's not in a position to up, he's getting up now.
Yeah.
Here we go. We talked about it, and now you're going to see it.
Oof.
Yeah. Good bump there.
That was pretty impressive.
Good athleticism by Mabel. I mean, Mabel did a lot of that himself. It wasn't like Scott just pressed him, but Scott supported him at least. It looked good. But yeah, the in-your-house pay-per-views were, they were 2-hour-long shows as opposed to 3-hour-long pay-per-views, and they were lower priced too. I think the main shows were maybe $24.95 at the time, or $24.95 to $29.95 in that range. And then in your houses were like $14.95, and like I said, they were 2 hours as opposed to 3 hours. But they were really the first step in the monthly pay-per-view cycle. It always bugs me because people always say that WCW went to monthly pay-per-views first, and that's just absolutely not true. Technically, they were the first one to go to full length, and by that I mean 3-hour-long monthly pay-per-views every month. How else would you have a monthly pay-per-view if it wasn't every month? But that's never held up as a caveat. Nobody ever suggests that these early in your houses weren't full-on pay-per-view shows. They weren't, compilation shows or videos highlighting the career of a certain wrestler. They were just full-on live wrestling shows. So, I mean, this fits the definition of what a pay-per-view was at the time. And the first In Your House was in May of 1995. And WWF had done Royal Rumble in January that year. They took February off. They took March off. They had WrestleMania in April. And then they did the first In Your House in May. And from that, technically from WrestleMania 95 forward, WWF would present at least one pay-per-view every month. Pretty much through the modern PLE era. I mean, there could be 1 year here or there where they missed a month because they did it at the end of the previous month. And there were definitely months where they did more than one pay-per-view in a month. But the monthly pay-per-view trend actually started with the WWF with the first In Your House in 1995. And then in 1996 would be the first calendar year where they would have one pay-per-view every single month. Because they would do, like I said, the Big Five with Royal Rumble in January, WrestleMania in either March or April, King of the Ring in June, SummerSlam in August, and Survivor Series in November. And every month that didn't have one of those Big Five, they'd fill in Your House. Meanwhile, WCW in 96, they didn't do a pay-per-view in January. They had a Clash of the Champions, but that was a television special on TBS. They had Super Bowl in February. March, they would do Uncensored. April, they didn't have a show. They had done Spring Stampede in April back in 94 and would do it again in 97, but in 96, they didn't do a show in April. May, they did Slamboree. June, they had Great American Bash. July, they had Bash of the Beach. And that was the first year they added the August pay-per-view, which was called Hog Wild at the time. I think they also did Clash of the Champions in August, so they had both in that month. But they did add the pay-per-view in August. Then they did Fall Brawl in September. They did, of course, Halloween Havoc in October. They did World War III, which was their gimmick battle royal answer to the Royal Rumble, where they had the 3-ring battle royal, which they had added the previous year in 95. They did that in November, and then, of course, the traditional Starrcade in December. But that's 10 pay-per-views. Yeah. 10 pay-per-views in a 12-month year is not one pay-per-view a month. It wasn't until 1997 when they added Sold Out in January, which was technically an NWO pay-per-view, but NWO was, I mean, we all know they were part of WCW, even though they were presented as the invading army. So it was technically a WCW pay-per-view. So as long as you want to count that, WCW went to monthly pay-per-views in 1997, which, like I say, technically they were the full-length pay-per-views, and WWF was still doing the 2-hour In Your Houses until, I think, like September or October, they switched the In Your House to 3-hour pay-per-views. But for all intents and purposes, WWF went to monthly pay-per-views first. They did it starting with WrestleMania in 1995, and the first calendar year, 1996, they had every month filled with pay-per-views. So still, predating WCW doing monthly pay-per-views by over a year.
Anyway, is that Bam Bam over there?
It is Bam Bam Bigelow, but I just want to say, for better or for worse, whether you want to give him credit or complain about it, you got to go to the WWF when you talk about going to monthly pay-per-views first, because they did it first.
Alright.
Yes, that is Bam Bam Bigelow. Bam Bam Bigelow, he was part of the $1 Million Corporation that we saw earlier. He wrestled Lawrence Taylor, the former football player, in the main event of WrestleMania, and after the loss, he got kicked out of the corporation, and he had turned babyface here. Interesting. So that's what's going on with Bam Bam.
He was only wrestling at least with this company for what, maybe another year?
Yeah, I don't think he finished 95 even. I think
I wasn't sure if he finished 95 or not.
He would be, he'd show up in ECW circa 97. And then he'd have another short run with WCW in 99, I want to say. But yeah, he was definitely in and out of the big companies.
Yeah.
He did a lot of wrestling in Japan as well, too.
Interesting. Can I find that anywhere?
Probably. I don't know if he'd wrestled mainly with New Japan or All Japan. I know New Japan has a streaming service. I'm not sure about All Japan. I'm sure there's, some sort of videotapes or DVDs out there as well, and who knows what's on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
We should say, of course, Bam Bam, another one of those who's not with us anymore.
I was about to look that up.
Yeah, no, Bam Bam passed away.
I was pretty sure he had.
Yeah, it's sad to look at some of these shows and think about how many of the performers aren't with us. Not just the wrestlers, but referees, announcers, etc.
Yeah. Like you said, part of it's just because of how long ago this was.
Part of it, and like I said, though, unfortunately, there's
deaths.
a lot of early deaths in the world of professional wrestling. Apparently, even more so than other athletic walks of life.
Even football.
From what I've heard, I haven't personally done the research.
I haven't.
I do read a lot about wrestling, and I have seen that comparison made. Yes, it's even higher than other sports, and maybe that's changed over the years.
Yeah.
But at least looking at this era. And here Jeff Jarrett doing his Jeff, ha ha, Jarr, ha, E-double-T, Jeff Jarrett, the world's greatest singer, the world's greatest wrestler, the world's greatest entertainer. Coming out to do his performance, his quote, live performance of the song that Brian James sang.
He has a very annoying vibe going on.
I like Jeff. I mean, he was supposed to be a heel. You weren't necessarily supposed to love him, but I really liked Jeff at this time. Jeff's one of my favorite wrestlers from the 90s. Like I said, I don't know how high on the list he is, but I enjoyed him. I liked him here in the WWF. I liked him when he came and was a quasi-horseman in WCW.
He might have high and low moments. Part of it might be affected by the fact that we tend to watch these without audio, so I'm not hearing anything, I'm just seeing it.
Well, here's one thing about it. He's a heel here. He's supposed to be
that's
annoying.
The thing, too. Like, he is supposed to be giving off bad vibes.
I mean, some people will say he had that sort of go-away heat where he's not even an effective heel. You just don't want to watch him, but I never got that. I think he's a good heel. He's a good performer overall. He's a good wrestler. He's a good worker.
Uh-huh.
And like I say, I'm usually not disappointed if Jeff Jarrett's on the show. Not suggesting he's my favorite or anything, but
he's up there, at least for the 90s.
He's a good, solid performer. Like I say, he's a welcome addition to any wrestling show as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
I don't think he's actually started the singing performance yet. I think he's still just babbling.
Yeah. I think that's the case. I don't like the hat design.
It's a good-looking hat.
The hat without the animal print, maybe.
No, I like that.
I don't like it because it's like really
It's just a black cowboy hat with like a leopard skin scarf or bandana wrapped around it.
Yeah, that's
leopard
the thing.
Print,
like it's
not leopard skin.
It's like high up in the front, goes lower towards the back, and then it's got like the tail off it.
Okay. Yeah, he's got like a bandana wrapped around
Yeah.
it.
I'm personally not digging the vibe. If you like it, cool.
Alright, here comes the actual performance of the infamous With My Baby Tonight. Spend my days working hard on the go, but the hands on the clock keep spinning too slow. I can't wait to be alone with my baby tonight. I was a little early there, but you get the picture.
I saw a clip the other day.
Not a lot to say over a performance here.
Yeah.
Especially when you can't hear it. And I'm not going to sing the whole song.
I was saying, I just saw a clip either this morning or last night of Taylor Swift performing, and some of the fans, like, by the stage were singing along and were early on the song.
I want to see Taylor Swift do a cover of this song. She's got the Jeff Jarrett connection. She should break out a cover of this song.
Oh, God.
You know, for what it is, just an overproduced mid-90s pop country song, it ain't bad. It's solid for what it is.
Okay.
You put it on in the background, I'm not necessarily changing it.
You know what's not?
What?
An Undertale / Deltoon song.
We need a Jeff Jarrett JoJo reference. We need a Baby Tonight or something as a JoJo stan.
You're working on some stuff like that, aren't you, Gabby?
Are there any country references in JoJo?
Probably. There's so many music references.
Just pull up a bunch of them. Dad probably knows more.
Probably, if not straight country, at least like some country rock references. Some of the artists who sort of blend genres.
There's a lot of references in JoJo.
You should just pull up some of them. Especially ones that you don't know, because if you don't know it, Dad probably knows it.
I mean, pretty much every stand name
Very interesting how high those microphones are.
Is a band, artist, album, or song. And even other than that, there's 100 characters named after stuff like that.
I don't know that anybody's actually singing live, since I know at least Jeff's vocals aren't his own.
But I don't get most music references in JoJo. I'm very bad with music.
What do you guys think about the old more blocky WWF logo we see down in the corner.
I'm fine with it.
I'm still very confused by when that's censored and when it's not. Because I know because of the lawsuit with the World Wildlife Fund, for a while they couldn't have any references to WWF. But now, obviously, it's not being blurred out, so that's obviously changed somewhat. But then half the time we see, like, in the closed captioning, it's changed to World Wrestling Entertainment, which is...
We're talking about that's
bizarre.
obvious as a two stylized W's stacked on top of each other. There's totally no F there.
Well, there would be an E if it was WWE, though. It wouldn't be just World Wrestling.
It's just WW.
This would precede, of course, the famous Attitude Era Scratch logo, which would then become the WWE Era Scratch logo. When it was just a W and a W, they didn't even bother putting the E, and now they have that, really slick-looking W on W, which is whatever, but looks horrible as the front for their main World Championships.
Ow.
Kitty cat.
This is the era when they still had the Winged Eagle belt, which is probably my second favorite pro wrestling belt of all time.
Real quick, I decided to look up the football and wrestling question from earlier. What I found is based on something, football is sort of technically the more dangerous of the sports. However, wrestling has a much higher percentage of early deaths. Of course, not every death or whatever is related to injury. I assume that's why there's that difference.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, I think just the statistic is normally framed as like just people who participate in one of those sports and how early they die. It's not necessarily... It's not specific to injury or drug use or
I don't know exactly how the numbers
or anything else.
Look, they came up with the numbers, whatever.
It's just pro wrestlers who died at an earlier age than the average person, and pro football players who died at an earlier age.
Yeah, one thing I saw was saying that looking at wrestlers whose careers had ended prior to 98 and should have been aged about 50, 55 in 2010, there was a 20% rate of death or whatever compared to 4% of football players similarly aged.
Yeah, and I imagine, the average population would probably be even lower than that.
Yeah. That's a very big difference, though. How big of a difference is that?
What was it, 20 to 4?
Yeah.
I mean, it's 5 times bigger.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I was, getting attacked by a cat. I was thinking of numbers, but couldn't correlate them with the correct words to communicate the thought.
This is actually the show where Jeff Jarrett and Rhodey were supposed to begin their program where they would split up and have a feud, but apparently neither one of them wanted to do it, so they actually left the company after this. They didn't do the angle and they just walked out, and so they had to just cut back to Michael Hayes claiming that there was a fight in the locker room, y'all, and they would be gone for a while. Jeff would come back. Rhodey wouldn't come back until like 96 or 97 when they did the aforementioned Real Double J gimmick.
Yeah.
And Jeff would come back for a little while, and then he would show up in WCW in 96, and then be back in the WWF for a while in 98, and then he would leave WWF in 99 along with Vince Russo when Vince Russo took over creative in WCW, and then he would be in WCW until the WWF bought WCW, and he was famously fired on the live Raw and Nitro simulcast by Vince McMahon, and then he would go on to start TNA and eventually be back in the WWF as a road agent or producer in like 2022, and now he's with AEW, so he's definitely been around.
Definitely.
I believe he also had some other stops in between there, but those are just the main ones. There's Todd Pettengill out with the fans. Todd Pettengill was maybe not a great wrestling announcer or commentator, but he was a good personality. He was a radio host in New York, and he was good as a hype man for WWE. I really enjoyed Todd Pettengill in the role that he was put in. When WWF did their Slammy Awards, when they brought him back in 1996, their version of the Oscars or just their yearly awards or whatever, he was the host of the show, and he did like a medley at the beginning, sort of Billy Crystal style from the Oscars, where he's sang parody songs about all the different wrestlers, and really good performance. He was really good as the host there, and I really liked the 1996 Slammy show. I have it on videotape. I'd like to find a more pristine, more long-lasting copy of it somewhere. It'd be a good show for us to watch. I don't know if it'd be a great show to commentate over.
Yeah.
Coming out now on the show, as you two seem completely disinterested.
No, I had a thought that I was trying to look up. Yes.
This is Henry O. Godwin.
Yes.
A.K.A. H.O.G.
Yes.
The Hog Farmer.
Okay.
The former Shanghai Pierce, when he teamed up with Dennis Knight in WCW as Tex Slashner and Shanghai Pierce, which were a pretty good tag team for the time.
Yeah.
And Dennis Knight would come in to be his tag team partner Phineas I. Godwin, a.k.a. Pig, and it would go on to become Midian in The Undertaker's Ministry of Darkness when he was doing the satanic gimmick during the Attitude Era. And at one point would be famous for being Naked Midian, where he would come out in basically just a flesh-colored thong, and they digitize it and pretend like he was running around naked.
Okay.
Also fairly well known for his Cactus Jack impression. I hear he's a chef now.
Okay.
Interesting.
And there's your boy Bam Bam. How do you like the ring jacket with the gauntlets?
I'm cool with it.
That's something new.
You know, I don't expect it to match up with the pants, at least.
Well, let's see how it looks once he takes the jacket off.
Yeah.
This is another, like I say, certainly not a great match. And both these guys can work, but it's solid. It's enjoyable action. Everything we've seen so far has been good. And even the main event, which wasn't great because neither wrestler in it was that great a worker, is saved by the fact that it was a lumberjack match. So you had a lot of guys who could, play along and create action even when there wasn't so much going on in the ring. All right. Sartorial commentary. How's the outfit look? Oh, it looks pretty straight.
Oh. Can't see too much.
I think it might be the
one
best we've
side
seen.
so far is looking good.
He kind of looks like a minion.
Yeah.
Who?
Godwin.
Okay, he's got
The
hair.
overalls, the yellow shirt.
Yeah, that's just a minion.
The proto. Y'all thought he was a hog farmer? No, he's a minion.
It's slightly off on the one side, or folded up. I can't
Bam
tell.
Bam's look.
Yeah.
How you like the BB logo on the front?
It's okay.
That's newer at the time.
I think I'd prefer Just Flames, but that's fine. I don't have anything against it. It's definitely seeming to be one of the better matchups with his Flames.
Henry's overalls are unbuttoned on the side.
Okay.
But that might be easier to work into, so it might not be a mistake.
Is. Especially since it's like that on both sides.
I don't even know, does he have wrestling boots on or just like regular old work boots?
I can't tell. Yeah, I can't tell.
DDT by
Especially
Bam
since
Bam.
the top half of them are in the jeans.
Yeah.
Oof.
Bam Bam was always very athletic for a big man. One of the more athletic big men.
Yeah. So, I mentioned earlier that I was looking through the messages. My friend did not tell me much about this match except for who wins.
No, it's nothing exceptional. It's just a good, solid little match here.
Yeah.
I mean, I had played into the feuds at the time, of course, as well, but good action from these two, because they can both work.
Yeah, but I also said I looked something up because I had a thought. I found a quiz. It's what WWE pay-per-view is most like your personality. However, it's semi-long and has some interesting questions.
Okay.
But that quiz exists.
All right.
Oh, let's see. At zoo.com.
Okay.
Are you suggesting we do it?
We can if y'all want to. If not, I've provided the information for listeners to go do it if they wish.
Hey, you've already done yours.
No, I just clicked through because I wanted to know how long it was and whatnot. I looked at some of the questions to make sure there wasn't anything like weirdly inappropriate in it,
For us? What would that even be?
I don't know. I mean, I truly don't know. Y'all want me to send this to y'all?
You can.
Alright, I'll find our group chat. Actually, screw that. It's easier for me to just get to y'all's contacts.
We have a group chat. I found it.
I get a lot of
Which W
texts.
pay-per-view event is most like your personality, correct?
Yes, the zoo.com.
I got it.
Cool. Well, I've also sent y'all links if needed it.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Refresh mine. Yeah, you found it as I was sending it to you. I have a cat very much passed out in my arms.
We saw a few minutes ago the ad for SummerSlam back in 1995, at which, like I say, Mabel would challenge Diesel for the World Championship. SummerSlam 2024 is coming up.
Yeah.
Be less than a week by the time this podcast drops. Actually, I guess less than no, it'll be exactly 1 week as of tomorrow.
I'd say it's pretty much almost exactly a week, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be 6 days away by the time the podcast goes up.
Yeah.
From Cleveland, Ohio.
Ohio.
Cody Rhodes defending the Universal Championship against Solo Sikoa.
Yeah.
Can't imagine they're going to have Solo win the belt.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing Liv and Rhea.
I mean, I can't imagine that Cody's just going to beat him clean and that's going to be that. If he does, I would imagine the Bloodline's going to beat Cody up afterwards, do something to keep their heat.
Yeah. Slop bucket.
Yeah, that was what the Godwins carried, and occasionally someone would get it dumped on their head.
That makes sense.
I think Hunter had a hog pin match with one of the Godwins. I'm not sure if it was Phineas or Henry, where they actually you had to win by dumping your opponent in the hog pin. I believe that was in. I want to say that was the Charleston pay-per-view.
Interesting.
I did not attend it.
Okay.
If you're curious.
I was probably going to ask that at some point.
Not Charleston, Florence.
Florence,
Yeah.
okay.
I knew it was nearby where I lived
Somewhere
at the time.
in South Carolina.
Yeah.
South Carolina's not so big of a state that something's super far from you at some point. At least not where you lived. I guess one side of the state to the other might be debatably far. What's the furthest distance in South Carolina?
The coast was like, well, probably about 2 hours as long as you didn't hit traffic from where I lived. And you could probably get across South Carolina in like 4 or 5 hours.
That's what I was thinking.
I think it's smaller than North Carolina,
Yes.
coast to mountains. Or
I was going to say, like, maybe there's some really weird angle in South Carolina that you can somehow make it as long as North Carolina, but going pretty much west to east, I'd say North Carolina's bigger.
You could say, like, Greenville area down to Charleston, but that might be about the same distance as Greenville to, like, North Myrtle Beach because of the way the state is shaped.
Yeah.
And that was the travelogue portion of the podcast. As Henry continues to take it to Bam Bam in the ring.
As the minion continues.
The minion versus the Easter egg. Is that going to be enough to
Ooh,
finish
I like
him?
those boots.
Yep, that's it. Who? Bam Bam's?
Yeah.
You just not noticed them?
I hadn't paid a whole lot of attention to the boots.
Henry's boots were definitely short for wrestling boots. They may not be traditional work boots. Oh, he's getting the slot bucket.
Well, at least trying to.
Well, he's got the bucket. He's having some issues standing.
Yeah.
It's like, he may be injured legit, too. I don't know. Or he could just be selling.
Yeah.
I don't know the whole history of Henry and any injuries he may have had.
I don't either.
I apologize.
And I mean, if they're good at selling, then you shouldn't be able to easily tell. Is he ever gonna get over to Bam Bam?
I don't think he's going to get the bucket on him.
Damn.
Bammer got out of there.
Yep.
Damn.
Wow, I probably didn't look that much different than that one kid right there with the shaved head and the Lakers jersey.
Did you have a shaved head?
In 95? Probably.
Really?
Yeah. I had a short haircut until like 96 or 97 when I started growing my hair back out.
Okay.
There's actually, I know there's a picture of me with not that jersey, it was the USA Shaq jersey, showing off my bald head.
Okay.
And that's a former WWF champion, Bob Backlund,
Yes.
talking to the crowd. Bob had about a 6-year run with the title.
That's a lot.
Interrupted for just a week or two, as Giant Baba, head man in All Japan, had a couple runs to the title. I don't even think were recognized in the United States back then.
Interesting. What is with the animal prints?
Who's got Sean on his gloves. Well, was part of Sean's look. You remember he had like the patches on his trunk that had the zebra stripes once he went to this look after splitting up with Marty Jannetty in one of the greatest angles of all time.
I feel like some animal prints can be done well. Like I'm not going to complain about most Lisa Frank things.
Okay, I may be exaggerating a little bit, but that angle where he broke up with Marty Jannetty, super kicked him and threw him through the barbershop window, that was premium for
No,
me.
you're fine, baby. You're fine. I just don't want your claws in my face.
I think Sean talks about this being his birthday or being close to his birthday, saying that we got him a birthday present, so he's going to go get him one himself for by winning the Intercontinental title.
Lol. But I was saying with the animal prints, it seems very popular now, and that kind of makes sense being 95, because I feel like it was very common when I was younger, and at this point, it's so too much. Are you going through and doing the quiz, Maddie?
I'm doing the quiz show.
Are you doing the quiz
should I
yet,
be doing
Papa?
it too?
Probably.
If you want to.
I
wasn't reading the questions out loud, I'm sorry, because I was focusing on the show.
I provided the link for people to go take it.
Brody's back out.
Yeah.
Probably to announce Double J.
That makes sense.
As we're getting ready for the Intercontinental title match. This might have been my favorite match in '95, honestly. I think it was PWI's match of the year.
Alright.
And definitely, Sean had a run where he was like match of the year in PWI for 4 straight years. Seeing Marty in '93, he and Razor in the ladder match at WrestleMania in '94. Yeah, he and Jeff in '95, and then either he and Brett at WrestleMania or he and Mick Foley at Mind Games in '96. And then he probably should have won in '97 too for the first Hell in a Cell with Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
And then once he made his comeback in 2002, he had like another 5 or 6 year run of Match of the Year in PWI.
Alright. How many questions have you made it in, too?
I'm up to which Charlie Brown special do you like
Okay, I'm
most?
at the one after it, and it's a fine question. It's not one I read prior to sending the link.
And then I have, who's your favorite dead wrestler?
Yeah.
That's
Question.
kind of savage.
Speaking of savage, Randy
Randy is on
one
there.
of the
Oh
options.
yeah, they put me on there because I'm not alive anymore. That's what dead means, dig it? Yeah. Now see, I like Jeff's look back there in an awkward transition. He had that sort of pleather look, sort of like Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he's got the double J on. I like his gear that he wears to the ring better than his in-ring gear because he has that weird, you've seen it before, the sort of suspender top.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fine. But I like the gear he wears to the ring with the light-up J's and everything.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's very...
Oh, gosh. Loud.
It's also of a similar style and material to the jacket and vest that Sean would wear to the ring that I liked so much in the early 90s. And by 95, Sean sort of transitioning into a little more the metal and the sort of... I don't even know how to describe it. Maybe you could do better, but it looked a little different than it did originally.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know
But
how.
but his trunks and boots and everything, once he got wrestling, still looked pretty much the same.
Are you seeing this outfit? I'm going to take that as a no.
What is this, Chris?
Oh my gosh.
And we got a little look at the Intercontinental Championship that Jeff's wearing. That was a good looking belt.
I said it was semi-long and had some interesting questions. Potentially questions.
Sort of a Village People look, honestly, with Sean with the hat and whatnot.
Yeah.
Sort of.
I don't love it, but I like his look.
I don't
mad at it,
I don't
at
like the
least.
vest and hat as much as what
The vest is
and the
changed on the
chaps.
sides.
Yeah, well, that was part of his look. Of course, he started out with
Definitely
with,
male dancer vibes.
with the vest or the jacket that just had like the zebra stripes and or the broken hearts on it.
Uh-huh.
Really like that look. Don't like this one quite as much.
What do
but
you think of, like, his earring situation?
it just, I don't know. I'm not big on dangly earrings myself. I always wore studs. Occasionally some
a
small
long
hoops.
earring. I mean, it depends on the look. I also like poles. Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's a little stripper dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Striptease in the middle of the wrestling
I could do
ring.
without the chat because I just think he had really cool looking tights. And like I said, I like just the simple jacket or vest. And did he still just have the zebra stripes at this point with
I
the
don't
splotches, or did he? He's actually got the broken hearts now for the Heartbreak Kid.
Okay.
But still, probably my favorite ring gear at the time. Like I said, I put Brett probably at number 2. And who did I say was? I didn't say Jeff was number 3, did I?
I have
Did
no
say
idea
Jeff
at
was
this
top 3?
point.
I think Jeff's gear was good. I liked the gear that he wore to the ring. His in-ring gear is at least a little something to be desired because it's just got that weird top.
WrestleMania.
You didn't even let us finish.
I thought you said you were Muscle Mania. Now I will say
Finish, yeah.
Jeff's outfit there because it's got the
Yeah.
contrast with the stripes and the different colors of the weird top. That's probably one of his better looks.
That's
when it's more
That's one of his better looks.
yeah, when it's more all one color, it doesn't look as good. I think that one looks pretty good.
That's only not.
I don't like the top. I really don't like the top. I'd take Sean's outfit over that any day.
That's such an.
yeah,
I don't
definitely
like
like
top.
Sean the best.
Why are you just holding the cat's paw?
Sean's using the belt as a mirror. That was the white strap, of course, on the Intercontinental. But WWF had this thing for a while, especially in the late 80s and early 90s, where they'd have different color straps for their belts, depending on the performer. White was one of the better looks. You would see some garish ones, too. Like, you'd see the medallions of the belt on, like, a yellow belt or maybe even a purple belt.
Mm-hmm.
But white, I thought, actually looked pretty solid. If you're going to do anything, either the black belt or the white belt. Of course, the black is the best. That's the traditional one.
One of the questions is, which is the most annoying insurance commercial? I can tell you it's not Geico.
This is a bizarre series of questions.
Yeah, the questions were weird.
These questions suck.
Which wrestler does not belong in the Hall of Fame? Now that's rude.
That is kind of rude.
Yeah.
If you were a wrestler, what would your finishing move be? None of the above. Who would finish a match with repeated punches to the head?
I don't know.
I'll take the stunner out of what's being offered.
The cat just stopped mid-lick and had her tongue out.
Who is your favorite American Idol judge? What does this have to do with professional wrestling?
I don't know. And the reality is, I don't think I like the person that I chose as a person, but I like something that they did at some point in time.
Sounds good.
I literally don't.
I'm not even gonna. Unless you want to go into detail.
No.
I'm not even gonna ask.
I already forgot.
I'd have to pull up another tab real quick, fact check a couple things.
What if I like all the insurance commercials?
Yeah,
do
exactly.
you though?
I don't hate any of them.
I'm a general personally.
You don't want to go to the journal and save some time?
Yeah.
With the best insurance rates
I don't
online?
like those commercials.
I always liked Sean's tattoo on his bicep. I'm sure we've talked about this before. It's like a heart with a dagger going through it and then a snake making an S. Wouldn't be appropriate for me. Oh, I guess I do have an S in my name, but it wouldn't really work for me now. But I thought it was a cool tattoo.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've always said The Undertaker's Grim Reaper tattoo is my favorite wrestling tattoo and the one I thought I would get at one point.
I would just like to say I did not realize that there had been other hosts of Family Feud.
It started out as Richard Dawson, then went to Roy Combs, then back to Richard Dawson, then Louis Anderson, then I don't think it went to Steve Harvey right after Louis Anderson. I think there was one in between.
Probably based on this question.
Why would you find yourself in traffic court? Something really bad. I would try to avoid traffic court, personally. You know, it'd have to be something really bad to actually get me into the court.
Yeah.
Why are you taking this quiz right now? Because my daughter sent it to me during our podcast.
Are you listening to LexiCon podcast if they quiz didn't get involved at some point?
Oh, John O'Hare. Yeah, I remember John O'Hare. Richard Dawson was the best his first run. He was horrible his second run. And I loved Ray Combs when I was a kid, but he's not even on the list. So I guess I'm going to go Richard.
Oh my gosh.
Do I have to appear on it? I don't know
Some
if I
of
would
these
want to appear on
questions
any
are
of these
questionable.
reality shows. Who let the dogs out?
Me.
Okay, good for you.
Which is most likely to be true? Bigfoot roams the forest, aliens are out there, the Loch Ness Monster is a real animal, Oswald didn't kill Kennedy.
Some of these questions are questionable.
I really hate that we're doing this over literally the best match on the show. Probably my favorite match of the whole year.
I'm sorry.
But there's not a lot of jokes. There's not a lot
watching.
of things to make fun of because it really is a great match.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. Oh, I skipped a question.
Ah.
How dare you?
What does the back of
I didn't mean
Sean's
to.
pants say?
Heartbreak Kid.
Ah. I couldn't really make it out, but it was possibly blocked.
Yeah, Jeff's doing the stalling here. It's classic, especially Southern style wrestling.
Yeah.
For the heel to take his time and stall to sort of rile up the crowd. But it's done well, and it's not done so long that you get bored or anything. And that's why Jeff's such a good worker. And of course, Sean was probably the best worker in at least North America, or at least the U.S. at this time.
Who was president when I was a kid? Like, tiny
Which
kid?
year?
Before Obama. Any year
The
before
second
Obama.
Bush.
All the years before Obama?
Yeah,
Okay.
because...
That's what I was thinking. There's a question here asking about presidents, and I'm saying, like, none of these people were president within my lifetime.
Oh, yeah, I just love severe weather. Can we not?
I have a question. Who made this? Did it say?
Yay, severe weather!
Oh, gosh.
Your house is broken into while you were there. What do you do? Am I going to
Die.
incriminate myself if I do this?
I mean, I guess the best kind of severe weather has to be thunderstorms, because they don't have to be that severe. They can just be a storm coming by that you fall asleep to for a bit.
It has to be severe now.
You finished the quiz, didn't you, Galba?
Yes.
Yeah, he's WrestleMania. Oh, I'm Hell in a Cell.
Oh, nice. I'm not quite done yet.
Jail doesn't scare you. Getting in a fight doesn't scare you. The IRS doesn't scare you. There is no such thing as fear in your life because fear is for the weak. Your decisions aren't always based on reason and sound scientific logic. But those things have never really mattered to you. You know that you make get your butt... It says you know that you make get your butt kicked.
Oof.
You make get your butt kicked.
I do make get your butt kicked. But I'll never back down from a fight. I mean, kinda. I don't feel like that exactly captures me. But I guess I'm Hell in a Cell. So Hell in a Cell, WrestleMania, and some as yet unnamed pay-per-view walk into a podcast studio.
Royal Rumble.
Interesting. Y'all got two of the big three. I got,
A good one.
well, I don't know. The match is good sometimes.
Oh, the description. You're someone who goes with the group, but knows when it's your time to shine. If most people are doing something, you know it's the safe bet to follow. It's not that you're a sheep, you just don't feel the need to be the center of attention. When you don't succeed, you still have put in your best effort. You accept the fact that most of the time your fate isn't decided by your actions.
I'm sorry.
Decided by, of course.
Did AI write that quiz?
Not that I
Sean
know.
with the big bump over the turnbuckle. That cannot feel good.
Probably not. He had some injuries in his career, didn't he?
He did. Well, he missed several years with a back injury, although some people have questioned how severe it really was.
Mm-hmm.
And suggest that maybe he just wanted to take some time off or didn't want to wrestle for the WWF at that time for whatever reasons.
This quiz was made by Joshua Laurent. So, any questions to that person?
At AOL.com. Look, there's the big bump again. Look at that. Complete flip over. Look, good thing there weren't stairs on that side.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they were paying attention, but that would have been horrible. Oh no, I went over the wrong corner of the stairs!
Oh, no.
Probably the last thing he ever said.
Ooh.
Vertical suplex. No. Gourd buster. I like Sean's boots. I think he had some distinct looking boots.
Yeah.
And like Sting had distinct boots at the time, but I didn't like Sting's as much. I liked Sean's a lot. Actually, Jeff's boots look pretty good here too.
They almost look cowboy inspired.
They do, but not as much as, like I say,
Some
Dustin
of them.
Rhodes and Barry Windham.
I'm saying like the
would have had
tops.
a few years early.
It looks like he has like the flat tops, but the design curves.
I see
in, like,
exactly what
cowboy
you're.
boot.
What you're. It's more like they're painted
Yeah.
to look like cowboy boots, as opposed to being boots meant to look like cowboy boots. Exactly, more of a cowboy inspiration.
Yeah.
How about Rhodey's vest? That thing is so early '90s.
Is it?
Do you not think so?
I don't know.
Yes,
It's not screaming 90s to me, but I'm probably most
Maybe more mid
to
'90s,
late.
but that's definitely a '90s vest, a '90s pattern. I'm not saying a lot of people were rocking that vest, but I could definitely see that pattern popping up in a music video or some decor at some place.
Probably. I could see it as decor somewhere.
It's almost got like some Southwestern vibes,
Mm-hmm.
but it's 90s as fuck. Jeff's got Sean in the abdominal stretch, and you see he's reaching back. Rhodey was holding his hand to give him some extra leverage, but the ref caught him, and Sean got the hip toss to get himself out.
They have both held the same spot on their back.
Okay.
It was just something I noticed.
Well, if you're selling the back, there's only so many places you can reach. It's not like you're going to, right up there by my shoulder blade.
I know they both just like slightly slid their right hand to the back, almost to like the kidney area.
I think in general, if you're going to have back issues, it's going to be your lower back.
Yeah, definitely.
Any sort of movement or impact is probably going to affect that area more so than others. Not coming down on anybody who's had upper back issues or shoulder issues. Those sort of happen. Jarrett distracting the refs so the Rhodey can choke Sean. It's referee Earl Hebner in there, of course, brother of Dave Hebner, of the infamous twin referee.
I just noticed how much his hair contrasts with his skin.
World title screw job back in February of 1988. And of course, the referee who was in the ring for the infamous Montreal screw job in 1997.
Yes.
Whose hair would you say was a contrast? Jeff's?
Yes.
It is very bright, bleach blonde.
Yeah.
Maybe it's natural. His dad was a blonde, so I mean, it could be
Is that
natural.
kind of yellowy blonde on it? Oof.
Yeah, and Sean has the much darker, dirty blonde hair.
Yeah, it's not very yellowy blonde. I'm not crazy about
Honestly,
yellow blonde.
Sean and Jeff were very similar to me at this time. Like I say, I thought their ring gear was similar. They're both similarly built. They're both blondes, although one a different color than the other. But both good workers. They're very Jeff Jarrett was sort of like another style Shawn Michaels, which is probably why I liked him so much.
I feel like look-wise, one of them appealed to one audience and the other appealed to another.
But you can see what I'm saying. They're similar builds.
Yeah.
They have somewhat similar looks. They have somewhat similar styles.
Oh yeah, definitely all very similar. If I had to guess,
Clothesline off the apron.
the younger
roadie.
generation of women watching were men interested in men were into Sean. The older generation were for Jeff.
I would think Sean would definitely be more of the sex symbol too. Not impugning Jeff's looks by any means.
Definitely more.
But you can definitely see that. I think they're very similar style wrestlers.
Yeah.
And different as well. I'm not suggesting that either one's a copy of the other. They're both exactly the same in their style, but...
No, they are exactly the same.
I think definitely, somewhat superficially, you can say they're very similar wrestlers. And so you can understand why, to me anyway, someone who's a fan of Shawn Michaels would also be a fan of Jeff Jarrett. And I think they were actually fairly friendly behind the scenes as well. I think Shawn was part of the infamous Clique, of course, which would spawn both the NWO and DX. You know, Shawn, 1, 2, 3 Kid, Diesel, Ramon, and Hunter once he joined the Federation.
Yes.
And as I understand it, Jeff would run with them fairly often outside the ring, even though he wasn't actually part of the Clique.
Interesting.
Oh, they mistimed that a little bit, but they recovered. Sunset flip, going for the pin. Sean staggering. Big punch. Oh, come on, Sean. You're not going to get... The pin was something like that. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Jeff almost got the pin, though. Big drop kick. That was a nice high drop kick.
Yeah.
Picture perfect.
Did not pin him.
No, you wouldn't really think a drop kick would be a finisher by 1995. Maybe a top rope drop kick.
Yeah.
Or the missile drop kick, but...
I looked up more about Jet and Taylor Swift. Apparently he was talking about her in an interview earlier this month.
Interesting.
Yeah, but, he was talking about how apparently she did babysit for him. He never, hired her for that or anything, though. Apparently they had been friends pretty much since she moved to Tennessee, and it was right after his wife had passed away. So
yeah, as far as I knew, they were neighbors or whatever. It wasn't he went through a babysitting service or something.
Yeah, but what you call it?
Yeah, his first wife passed away, and then he ended up marrying Kurt Angle's wife.
Interesting.
Who he's still married to today, Karen.
Interesting. Yeah, apparently.
Kurt's not still married to her, though. That would be awkward.
Yeah, that's the same. But apparently it was right after his wife had passed away, so she'd come over and watch his daughters and bake cookies with them and whatnot. But apparently, back during the original Speak Now era, I believe. Well, yeah, because that's when the music video was. She made the music video for her song called Mine, and she actually cast one of his daughters to play a younger version of herself in it.
All right.
E.
There was like I say, of course, Jeff ended up marrying Kurt's wife, Karen, who was Karen Angle at the time when she was married to Kurt. Somebody had a real savage joke about Jeff one time. You know, in wrestling, an angle is like, it's not a storyline, but it's like something that happens. You know, it's like somebody turns on somebody.
Yeah.
It's like an event in
A
wrestling.
plot point.
It's not a match. Oh,
Somebody's call alarm is going off.
that happens every so often.
Yeah.
So somebody's got a car that seems to go off every so often. It just unfortunately went off during the podcast.
Yeah.
But again, it's a happening, a planned event in wrestling that's not a match or a promo. It's an angle.
Yeah.
It's shorter than a storyline. A storyline would be something that would be ongoing over different shows, and an angle would be just like a single happening. But anyway, somebody had a really savage joke about Jeff and said the last great angle you were in was Karen. I always thought that was pretty good. Okay, Sean with the slow crawl here. Clearly not going to get the cover here, but kind of a hoax spot. Jeff, of course, kicks out.
Yeah.
This is not only the best match on the show, it's probably the longest match on the show, too. But we could be nearing the end here. I know
That makes sense. What was after this again?
The only thing that should be after this should be the world title match.
Yeah.
Ooh. There could be another tag team match in between. I may be wrong. Sean, either kip up or nip up. I've heard that called both.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what the correct terminology is, but
I'm definitely not sure.
Sean firing up here. Irish whip from corner to corner. Flying forearm. I believe some people call that the 5-arm. Stomped inside of Jarrett's face.
Okay, I've answered my own question.
Going for the
What's
moonsault.
next?
Didn't see a lot of moonsaults on Dodo. Well, no, he didn't go for the moonsault. He just twisted around and did the double axe handle. Looked like he was setting up a moonsault. See, you don't see many moonsaults on WFTV back then. You answered your own question. I didn't hear you ask it, so...
I said about what follows this.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it the main event or was there a tag match?
It's Lex and Bulldog.
I thought there was a Lex Luger and British Bulldog tag team
Yokozuna
match.
and Owen Hart.
Yeah. So, okay, we've got 2 matches left. But that makes sense, because you wouldn't really want to... Of course, I guess you are following up the Intercontinental with the tag team titles, but... And like I said, this was a little bit more of a truncated show, being only 2 hours. Actually, I think there were more matches to this show that the live crowd got to see that just weren't on the pay-per-view.
Yeah. That's not uncommon, though.
Well, especially not for the In Your House shows, because like I say, the pay-per-view broadcast was only in the 2-hour range. But they still have a full show for the live crowd.
Mm-hmm. I have a cat that is sleeping. She has no interest in this show.
Jeff trying to call timeout.
I don't think that's...
Brody shakes the rope. And crotch is shown on the top.
Just chill on the top rope, sitting.
Well, it's better than falling off.
I mean, that's fact.
Jeff gonna go for the superplex. That was a big move at the time.
Yeah.
Still a big move as far as I'm concerned.
And, oof, ouch.
I always liked Barry Windham's superplex where he'd come down and float over into the pin.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, he was using it as a finisher too, and Jeff's obviously not using it as a finisher. Went for the figure 4, Sean with the roll up.
That was an interesting position.
Yeah, I don't think he quite had his shoulders down. Jeff working the knee, trying to set him up for the figure 4. The only thing that annoys me about guys who use the figure 4 is they'll usually work the knee that gets bent
leg
in the figure 4. And if you think about it, it would make more sense that the knee that has the leg crossed over it would be the one take. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have an injured knee and somebody's bending it against your will, I'm sure they're putting pressure on it. But you would think the knee that's crossed over would be the one that hurts the most.
Yeah.
And I don't even understand why logically they would think it makes more sense to work the bent knee. Like everybody watching can't see that you've got a leg crossed over leg and you're clearly putting pressure on it.
Yeah.
But then again, I haven't been put in a figure 4 in a long time, so maybe I'm wrong.
I'm sorry, I don't think I could manage to put you in one.
I could put you in one.
Yeah, I don't wish to be in one.
Dylan, I guess it's up to you then.
No,
Isn't that one you tend to do when we've played wrestled?
Maybe. I don't know.
I feel as though that's one you
I was
put
more
us
of a
in.
sharpshooter guy than a figure 4 guy. I remember my dad and I had a bet one time to see who could... He put me in the figure 4 and I put him in the sharpshooter, see who could stay in it longer, and I won.
Nice.
Mainly because the sharpshooter affects your back more than your legs.
Uh-huh.
So I think it was harder to hold in that. Maybe he went easy on me too, I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a memory of him letting me win, like, tic-tac-toe and games like that.
Which is weird, because he always told me he would never let somebody win. There you see, Rhodey tripped Jeff with his back to him, supposedly like he was supposed to trip Sean, and that could have been the start of the split there. And Sean hits the super kick and gets the win.
Nice.
Your new Intercontinental Champion.
It changed when he got a grandkid.
I suppose.
Suddenly he had his baby granddaughter. He's like, nah, I can't do it to her.
I feel like he always instilled in me not to let somebody win. So.
I don't care if they're 3 years old, they ain't winning.
Well, for the most part, I won't let other people win. Every now and then, I might let Johnny have a win.
Yeah, I don't like to let people in either. Oh, you said win.
I'll let Johnny win sometimes.
Yeah, he baby.
All right, what do you guys think about the white strap for the belt?
I
good?
somewhat saw it and it looked
It
okay.
exists.
There we go.
It's not bad.
No, it's not bad. If you're going to change it from black, white... Actually, not for this belt, but
It looks better for Sean.
I like a red strap on a belt. I think that can look really nice. If the
Yeah.
belt's designed for that. Like the old WCW United States Tag Team Championships, they were on a red strap, and they looked really good. They're some of my favorites of all time. I don't necessarily think this belt would look good on a red strap. And I don't necessarily think the when they had the two almost matching world championships in WWE, and one was on a blue strap and one was on a red strap, I don't think they look that good. But they're not going to look good on any strap because they're just shitty looking belts.
Yeah.
But I think you need a little more. Kiss for a young lady in the audience.
Okay.
I have no idea who that. I don't know if they identified her as being someone we should know or not, but
I don't know either. Have there ever been...
I don't recognize them.
Have there ever been some wrestling action figures that would be big enough to have belts that would be the correct size for Bobby?
I don't know. The old LJN wrestling dolls that WWF did in the 80s, they would have been bigger than Barbie. At least girth-wise.
Yeah.
Height-wise, they might have been about the same, but I don't know if they ever had belts with them or
Any
not.
1/6 scale wrestling figures?
There's various size wrestling figures. There are probably some in existence now. I mean, I don't really collect wrestling figures. Hey, if you look here,
gosh.
if you look behind Diesel, I don't know if you're going to get another good look at him. There's a Samoan gentleman right there wearing that multicolored jacket.
Uh-huh.
That's the Usos and Solo's dad. That's Rikishi.
Nice.
He wasn't Rikishi at the time. I think he was just wrestling as Fatu, which is their last name.
I went to McKay's the other day. They had an entire shelving thing just dedicated to wrestling figures. Like still in boxes and whatnot too. Looked like a mix of older and newer ones. There were a lot though. I was tempted to try to find some.
Do you like the Shawn Michaels heart sunglasses that the merchandise guy is pimping?
No.
And
I kinda like them. There's a famous, well, not famous. There's a favorite picture of mine of me and you, Dylan, wearing glasses at like Claire's in the mall, and one of us has the heart-shaped glasses on.
Nice.
That was like my favorite picture forever.
I'd say
They
I'm
weren't Shawn
a
Michaels
little
glasses,
bit picky about heart-shaped glasses. Overall, I don't mind them. I actually used to have heart-shaped glasses that were actual glasses. I think they were
like reading glasses or like sunglasses glasses?
prescription glasses.
Yeah, I just checked. Sean's birthday was actually July 22nd, so it would have been the day before this pay-per-view. So, another Leo.
Should have shared a birthday with Sean.
Oh, would that be Leo? I think that's early. I think that's late enough to be Leo, right? I'm a Leo, but I know I'm...
The 22nd.
I would say I'm not on the cusp, but I'm early in
I think
Leo.
the 22nd might be the last day of Cancer.
Well, that means you're on the cusp, too, so that's one of those things where you could be either.
Yeah. In actual astrology stuff, it would be depending on
But
the time of
another
day.
July baby, at least.
Yeah.
In fact, Sean turned 30 the day before this show.
Wow. Well, he did go and get himself his birthday present.
I mean, to be fair, the company gave it to him.
True. But still.
I don't think he just shot on Jared and said, nope, I'm taking it.
Story-wise.
Mine.
Oh, JC's on the show. Jim Cornette. I forgot he was the manager of Yokozuna and Owen at the time.
You like Jim Cornette, don't you?
I do like Jim Cornette. I'm a big fan of his podcasts. And I appreciate his work as a wrestling manager as well. But a lot of his best work was before I really got into wrestling.
As of right now, in this moment, his book, him as this manager person situation, my friend does not like him.
Well, again, he's supposed to be the bad guy, so
Yeah.
he's doing his job.
Very much.
Ubiquitous tennis racket, of course.
Why?
And unfortunately, both members of this team are no longer with us.
I'm sorry.
Fuji's probably passed away since, too. The other manager, the second for Yokozuna,
I would look that up, but I just typed in 1/6 scale wrestling figures.
former professional wrestler himself, former multi-time WWF Tag Team Champion. And on the other side, Davey Boy, Owen's brother-in-law, he's no longer with us either.
Damn.
So,
What was the first person you mentioned?
well, I know Yokozuna and Owen have passed away. I said Mr. Fuji, I believe, has passed away. So, but I mean, and I'm not diminishing his death or anybody who was saddened over it, but I mean, he was an older gentleman. I wouldn't necessarily say Fuji died young.
Yep. Born 1934, passed away in 2016.
Yeah, so he had a pretty good long life.
Yeah.
I can't judge how good it was or not, but
Lengthwise,
plenty of time.
it lasted a while. At least compared to some of the other guys we've either looked up or talked about today.
His life certainly lasted.
when I first started watching wrestling in 1990, Lex Luger quickly became my favorite wrestler.
Yeah.
He was not my favorite wrestler at this point, but I still liked Lex, and I still have an appreciation for Lex. I think he was a good wrestler.
What has Lex done outside of wrestling?
Nothing that I know of.
Interesting.
He was technically in the World Bodybuilding Federation when he first came to the WWF, but that was just a workaround because of his WCW contract. He couldn't actually wrestle for a while for another organization.
I would say his body just looks so specifically built for him to have done something else.
And he was a football player before he was a wrestler. Spanish announce team. I don't believe their table is going to be destroyed on this show.
Oh, man. Why are they here then?
This was for the Spanish language viewers?
Yes, I know. Just showing them, his table would not.
This was a little early for table spots in the WWF. I think the first big table spot in the WWF would be later this year at Survivor Series.
Yeah.
When Brett would take the bump during the world title match with Diesel.
Alright.
What do we think about the red, white, and blue looks for Davey Boy and Lex? Representing their respective countries, USA for Lex, United Kingdom for Davey Boy.
They're fine.
Wrestling as the Allied Powers, I believe. Wasn't a bad tag team. I mean, the patriotic angle was probably a little passé by this point. I thought they made a pretty solid team. Like I said, since they never took the chance to go all the way with Lex the champion, like they should have at SummerSlam '93.
I'm sorry.
I'm not saying he would have had a great run, but they built it up. Give him the belt. Give him the chance. I think the thought then was they needed to save the match for WrestleMania, but then by WrestleMania, he loses the match with Yokozuna, and Brett ends up winning the title, which I'm not going to complain about Brett getting a run with the belt. But, I mean, you built Lex up. Give him the shot,
There seems to have been quite a few wrestlers that should have done something. It should have gone one way, but they just never really got the chance.
Well,
or not.
That's sort of a different story. Like, this guy had potential, but he just never made it. But I mean, with Lex in this case, they literally built him up. They had him turn babyface by body slamming Yokozuna on July 4th on the deck of the USS Intrepid. They did this whole big countrywide Lex Express tour, and they built it up for him to win the title. And then he won the match by disqualification, or no, by count out. So he didn't win the title. And it's similar to Cody not winning the championship at WrestleMania in 2023. But of course, they eventually made that right with Cody.
Yeah. Did Lex have any titles?
Lex?
Yeah.
Not in WWF.
That's what I was thinking.
No, he's a 2-time world champion in WCW, at least 4-time U.S. champion. No, I take that back. Oh, no, wait. Did he? No, I'm thinking of another team. I don't think he and Barry. I think he and Barry had the titles in WCW or the NWA at the time.
I was thinking Lex is one that didn't have any titles with WWF.
Yeah, well, definitely not during this run. I was trying to remember, but he didn't go to them in the... I think I'm confused. Barry Windham and Lex were tag team partners in WCW, and Barry Windham was also tag team partners with Mike Rotundo, who we saw as IRS, who was Bray's father.
Yeah.
And Bray's mother is Barry's sister. But he and Mike Rotundo were tag team partners, I think, in the NWA and in WWF. And Barry and Lex, I think, were only tag team partners in the NWA, which was the forerunner of WCW. But yeah, just in WCW, Lex was at least a 4-time U.S. champion, 2-time world champion, and I think he and Barry held the tag team titles. I think he and Sting held the world tag team titles together too.
Was Scott Hall one of the other guys that didn't have the title at some point?
Scott Hall's never been a world champion. He's had other titles. He was multi-time Intercontinental champion in the WWF.
Probably mixing him up with someone else then.
And he was tag team champion in WCW. I think he was the television champion for a little while and may have been U.S. champion. And as I said, multi-time Intercontinental champion in WWF. But he's one of the guys who's on the short list of best wrestlers to never be a world champion.
Who else is on that list?
Well, Owen's on the list, I would say. Some guys it's a little harder to say. Like Barry Windham, he held the NWA championship, but it was after the split with WCW when it wasn't necessarily a world championship. It's sort of just depending on your point of view whether you recognize it as a world championship. And Rick Rude the same way. Like he held that same version of the NWA championship. Mm-hmm. So they kind of had a world championship, but kind of didn't.
Yeah.
And then somebody like Andre the Giant, he technically won the World Wrestling Federation Championship from Hulk Hogan in the aforementioned twin referee angle. But then he immediately turned around and sold it to Ted DiBiase in part of the angle.
Okay.
So he was champion, and he is recognized as champion, but it was literally like a day or a week-long run or whatever. So he never had a real big run with the title. So, I mean, I think Andre would have to be on the list of greatest wrestlers never to be a world champion, if you don't count that. He never had a real run with the title.
Yeah.
Those guys would definitely... There's others, too, but... That's the short list, at least.
Yeah. Also, really quickly, of all the outfits, Owen's probably got the best.
Yeah. Very very similar to Brett's outfit, but it's a singlet.
Brett does it better.
Like, Brett has the singlet, but he wears the long trunks over it. And, of course, the colors are the same as Brett's.
Yes. Ooh.
Ooh, Owen came down awkwardly than that.
Yes.
And, of course, like, Owen and Davey Boy were brothers-in-law at this time, and they have a pretty... They would have a pretty long history of good matches and being tag team partners. They were together off and on, matched up a lot especially in their World Wrestling Federation careers. I'm sure they wrestled elsewhere too, in Calgary and perhaps elsewhere, but in the WWF, they would often be matched up one way or the other.
Yeah.
Usually a good match if you had those in the ring together.
When did Matt Hardy start wrestling?
When I couldn't tell you when he started, sometime in the mid-90s. As far as he was a jobber for the WWF in the late 90s, and then they really started to come into prominence in like 99 as a team, he and Jeff.
Alright.
But I'm sure he was actually wrestling for several years before that.
Yeah. But this sort of stuff you wouldn't have been seeing till later 90s.
Yeah.
Very late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a TikTok of him earlier with his kid. It was really cute. She was showing him her earrings or her nails or something. His little one, the goth baby. Do you ever get goth baby on TikTok?
No.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about Bam Bam Bigelow earlier being one of the most athletic big men. Yokozuna was pretty athletic for his size as well.
Yeah.
Another guy. And you'd have to throw Vader in there as well. The late Leon White, who was really the guy who got me into wrestling because he had the big mastodon helmet that blew the smoke, and my uncle, who's also passed away by now, had said, you got to see this guy. And after I had a birthday party in 1990 at the local arcade, and you could have what's called a private birthday party where you could go up there for like an hour before it opened, and then you and your friends would have the run of the place. And I had that party, but like I said, we had to have it early in the morning, and so then we came home. And we managed to catch the Saturday morning wrestling show that WCW put on at the time. And that was when I first got to see Big Van Vader. And after that, I was hooked on pro wrestling.
Nice.
But like I said, I would put Vader in the class with Yokozuna and Bam Bam, some of the more athletic big men.
Yeah.
You also go back to something like Crusher Blackwell, but I never really got to see him wrestle because he was pretty much done wrestling by the time I got into wrestling. As far as, the 400-plus pound guys who were actually pretty athletic.
Yeah. There's been some pretty big wrestlers, hasn't there been? I asked you a question as you were grabbing a drink.
Yeah, there has been.
Answer the question as you drink.
Okay.
Nice.
But when you think about really big wrestlers, you think about like Haystacks Calhoun, who was billed as probably like 600 pounds.
Oh, damn.
And something like Andre, who was billed as like 7 feet, 5 inches tall, 400 plus pounds. He was probably legitimately somewhere between 6'10" and 7 feet, but he was just very massive as a human being.
Yeah.
I mean, he had the same condition that someone like Big Show has, acromegalia, I believe it is, gigantism. That just caused his proportions to be so much bigger than just an average person. And I mean, 6'10" is still very tall.
Yes.
But maybe not as tall as he was advertised, but he just looked so much bigger.
Yeah.
And of course, we saw Mabel. Mabel was one of the biggest wrestlers I ever saw. He was tall and large.
The way Owen was just flailing his arms.
Yeah. Oh, not dissimilar from how Shawn was doing it when Jeff had him in a similar position.
Yeah.
There's Enziguri, and Bulldog does a full flip there. Mr. Fuji, who I believe was Hawaiian, but was always portrayed as a Japanese wrestler, and he may have been of Japanese descent, with the Japanese flag out there for Yokozuna, who's Samoan. So,
okay.
No actual Japanese wrestlers out there, but
big mashup of
portrayed as a Japanese wrestler. He's got the
Pacific cultures.
Yokozuna is the title for like the grand champion in sumo wrestling, and you see he's sort of a sumo character.
Yeah.
I believe Rikishi, who we just spoke about, whose name I can't ever remember. His last name is Fatu. I know a lot of people call him Junior. I can't remember his actual first name. But the character he played, Rikishi, was also a takeoff on a sumo wrestler. Had a similar look to Yokozuna. And I think Rikishi is also another name for a champion-level sumo wrestler. Although I don't know that Rikishi was ever portrayed as specifically being Japanese. I mean, when he was a member of the Samoan SWAT team or the Islanders or just as Fatu, he was always presented as being Samoan. Yeah, that's Rikishi. Oh. Yeah, Talasua. I guess it's pronounced. I'm not sure I've even ever heard it pronounced. I've heard people call it, like I said, I've heard people call him Junior.
This one.
Oh, Salofa, yeah.
Yeah. I think Telso, whatever, was his spouse.
Gotcha. I think that's Yokozuna's real name is Rodney Anawai.
Uh-huh.
I think Salofa might be his middle name because I always wondered if Solo was named after him.
Interesting.
But then again, I guess he could be named after Rikishi. Or maybe Solo's just... I don't think Solo is his actual name. I think it is something like Salofa.
Yeah.
And it could be his middle name, too.
Yeah.
Or his middle name could just be Solo, actually.
But it could be short for that.
But they're all related. I mean, Roman and Solo and the Usos and Rikishi and Yokozuna.
Yeah.
Like, I think, like I said, Yokozuna's last name is Anawai. I think that's Roman's last name, too.
Ah.
It's something Joe Anawai.
Yeah.
And then the first name is like a Samoan name. It's like Letitia or Latiti or something.
Mm-hmm. I don't know all these guys' names very well. I don't even know all of the actual, like, performing names very well.
And like the Usos, they're Jimmy and Jay on screen, but they're John and Josh in real life.
Interesting.
John and Josh Fatu. And Yokozuna gets the win there after squashing Lex.
What is going on in the crowd back there?
Yes.
Some fans. They might be running to go get in that open section on the aisle so they can, like, slap the wrestlers' hands as they come out.
It's like just a huge crowd of people started running.
There's kind of an open area down the aisle I saw where fans would congregate and say, yeah, you try to go to the railing so you could, slap the wrestlers' hands and whatnot as they went by. Those tag team championships, I never liked those much. They were very square and kind of plain. Well, they're more rectangular, but I have a fondness for them now for nostalgia purposes, and I think they look better than a lot of the modern belts, but at the time I was not a fan of them.
Understandable. You know what they need?
Oh, quick, call the superstar line. Let's do this.
Okay, let's go.
What do you get nowadays?
It's really weird when you watch like a WCW pay-per-view and they have the hotline up, they'll actually put like a bar over it that says, number no longer active. They didn't do that here. Okay, we gotta find out.
Okay.
737-4WWF.
Yep. We can memorize that if it goes away too quickly.
1-900-734-737?
I thought it was 737.
Yeah.
734 WWF.
Yeah.
So 993. Okay, here we go. Nope, call. I don't think the number's active anymore. It just ended right away.
Wow.
737-4WWF. I'll try it one more time.
Wow.
Oh, it's down there.
Oh, does it say back there?
Oh, no, yeah, it's under the closed captioning. And they didn't cover the numbers themselves.
Wow.
I'm still trying it again. Yep, it just hangs right up.
Wow.
Wow, nobody even took it over.
Yet.
All right, now we're getting ready for the main event, the World Wrestling Federation Championship match with the Lumberjacks. The Lumberjack match, if you're not familiar with that, is pretty much a regular match, but the ring is surrounded by various wrestlers who are the Lumberjacks, who are supposedly there to keep the wrestlers from going outside of the ring. And usually it ends up like the heels will beat up on the baby face, and the baby faces will sometimes beat on the heels, and the Lumberjacks themselves will often get into a fight. We're seeing here when Sid turned on Shawn the day after WrestleMania, or the night after WrestleMania on Raw, to foment Shawn's babyface turn. And then Diesel came out to say... Kevin Nash, as Diesel, came into the World Wrestling Federation as Shawn's bodyguard. And then Diesel turned babyface and they split. And Sid came in to be Shawn's bodyguard. And then Shawn turned on Sid to, like I say, foment Shawn's babyface run. And then Shawn and Diesel made up again until Diesel would turn heel again at the end of 95 or early 96. And they're highlighting here where Diesel apparently injured his elbow for real in a match with Sid at the previous In Your House.
What
the
did
first
they
In
call
Your House.
Diesel in that closed caption?
What?
So what did they call Diesel in that closed caption?
I don't know. What did it say?
I don't know for sure. I was trying to read, but they go quickly.
I wish you paid more.
I was pretty
did
sure
they just call him the champion, or?
I don't. No, it seemed like he had like a nickname or something that they were referring to.
Big Daddy Cool.
Ah.
Yeah, that was one of his
Okay.
nicknames. Yeah, Big Daddy Cool. Look, it was cool at the time.
Maybe.
It's better than the nickname he gave himself in WCW, Big Sexy.
Oh, God.
Big Sexy Kevin Nash. I enjoyed a lot.
I will say I do like his looks.
I enjoyed a lot of Kevin Nash's. He was certainly not the best worker, and he'll be the first to admit that. He was a good promo, but he was kind of a smart ass. And another guy like Scott Hall, who sometimes would go into business for himself on the mic and maybe wouldn't put forth his best effort when he could have. But I did enjoy a lot of his matches. So
Yeah.
I was more of a fan of Kevin, I think, than Scott, by and large, although I had issues with both of them. But I like the Diesel character, and I thought he had a good run. A lot of people give him, not credit, but consider him the worst drawing WWF champion of at least the modern era. But I think that's somewhat unfair because it's not just about the individual guy with the belt, you know. I mean, it's about the business at large. But like I said, I really enjoyed WWF in this era. I like the new generation. I like the Diesel, Shawn, Ramon, Brett, Kid, Undertaker. I liked this run a lot. Triple H is back there over Ted DiBiase's shoulder.
Nice.
In this clip from Raw. You can kind of see him there. He's the guy with the long hair. Pretty much dead center. Can't see him now. But this would be early in Hunter Hearst Helmsley's run with the WWF. He had been in WCW until very early in 1995 as Jean-Paul Levesque.
Okay.
Well, that's his real name is Paul Levesque.
Yeah.
He was doing like a French aristocrat.
Cat.
There he is. He's there. Wait for him. Right there. There's Hunter.
Nice. He does a lot with the company nowadays.
That might be Mantar. Yeah, he runs the company.
Yeah. I wasn't sure exactly how high up he is.
He's at least on the creative side, he's the top guy.
I knew he was high up. I just wasn't sure exactly how high
He
up.
does a little bit of stuff, you know.
He's the one married to.
He's like an unpaid intern.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, I know all the wrestlers are related. I just don't know how. Well, most.
All the wrestlers are related?
Yeah, all of them.
Every single
They all have connections to each other somehow.
Every single one.
All the Samoan wrestlers except for Samoa Joe are related. And Hunter's married to Stephanie. That's pretty much it.
Oh, I bet that's more.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I don't know. Most of the Hearts are
them are
retired and dead
related.
by now, so.
All of them.
I guess Natty still wrestles
Every single one in
sometimes.
history.
I feel as though there's quite a few connections.
I'm sure there's. Yes, I know there's other. Well, I was going to say Bo Dallas and Bray Wyatt, but Bray Wyatt's dead now, too.
Wait, are we just talking?
What?
I don't even know what's going on there.
Why the Goths?
They're saying they're
Undertaker
Undertaker fans. I think Undertaker might have wrestled.
Why the Goths from
He might have wrestled in a
Sunset?
dark match on this. Wait, this is summer '95, right?
Yeah.
Undertaker was still. This wasn't during one of his hiatuses. He might have wrestled in a dark match on this show. I think there was. Yeah, Undertaker and Kama had a dark match, and Bret Hart and Triple H had a dark match as well.
Nice.
So that was matches that the crowd got to see, but of course weren't on the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Those would have been good additions, but like I said, this is a really solid show. Like, nothing's bad, and some things are really good. Just good action, has a good flow. And normally I'd prefer like a 3-hour show, but this one feels like you really get your money's worth for. Probably my favorite In Your House of all time.
Understandable.
Understandable.
Sid, the former Sid Vicious in WCW, Sid Justice during his first run in the WWF, Psycho Sid during the later run in the WWF. Right now, just Sid.
I'm sorry, kitty. I didn't want to entirely disturb you.
It's all your fault.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Your failure.
Questionable. Debatable.
No, 100% true.
I was going to say, connecting the wrestlers, are we just connecting those still in WWE? Or are we including like AEW and any of the other ones?
I guess you'd include them all, but I don't know who's in I don't know who is in AEW off the top of my head that's related to anybody in WWE.
I don't know anyone in AEW.
Nobody comes to mind right offhand. I'm not saying there's not some.
Now he's got the hat on backwards.
Yeah. Did he have it on? Did he wear it forwards when he came out? Okay. I'm not sure about the red. I'm not sure about the red shirt with the white and gold trunk. But
I also don't like that style of a hat.
Gotta sell the merch though. I'd have worn that shirt.
Would you have worn that hat?
Probably not. I probably would have bought it and then just never worn it.
Same.
I'm like, this looks cool, but I'm not actually gonna wear it.
That style of hat just makes me think of flats.
Like I had a couple bucket hats, and I was like, these are cool, but then I never wore them, and it had like a Kangol, and it was like, yeah, this is cool, but I'm not actually gonna wear it. What's going on?
I just hit one in the head of my chair, I think.
That's why I
everybody
headbutt
okay?
the back.
Why are you trying to headbutt my chair?
Ah.
That sounded like a poor decision on your part.
And going back to the pay-per-view,
Yes.
you could argue that Sean has the two best matches on this show. because He really helps make this match with his involvement, his athleticism, and his spots. So, like I
Who's
said,
wearing that toxic symbol red singlet thing?
the one straight there in the middle or on the other side of the ring?
That way. Next to the guy in the
Oh,
blue.
that's Brian Clark. At the time, he was Adam Bomb.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's
The
why he
Diesel's
had
got an
the
ass.
atomic symbol. Did you say Diesel's got an ass?
Yes.
Okay. What's the time cue on that, Dylan? I gotta clip that out.
It was so obvious in that shot. It's like, well, okay.
Don't worry, I got it.
What our viewers aren't allowed to know that. They probably
They can't know he has an ass.
you know, if they're watching along, they noticed for
That's
themselves.
secret information.
We expect our wrestlers not to have posteriors, damn it. It's just legs to back, no ass.
Well, it was pronounced. It was visible.
How was it pronounced?
And seeing ideas dumped out.
Please pronounce
all
it for
the
us.
all the heel lumberjacks are beating on him. And the babyface have to come over and try to make the save.
What the fuck? What the fuck? What?
And then Sean coming up off the
What?
top rope.
What?
Like I said, Sean really helps make this match.
It's a big pile-up fight next to the ring.
Well, that's the thing
I
too. Is
hate
like
pile-ups.
Diesel and Sid, neither one were a good enough wrestler to carry the other one to a really good match. So just them were not going to be a good match.
You know, to be
But then
fair,
you
his
put all
pants
these-
are probably providing an emphasis as well.
You put all these guys outside the ring and have some more distractions, and it really makes for an enjoyable main event.
Those leather-like pants or whatever they are.
Yeah. I don't like the tassels down the side. Could do without those.
Probably.
That looks a little weird. They almost look like they should be chaps, but they're actually his pants.
Yeah.
Sean was the one who wore the chaps.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people here.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Too many.
This is a high number of lumberjacks too. It feels like they really pretty much everybody on the roster is out there.
Including the minion.
I mean, Brett's not the guys who haven't wrestled yet. Well, I don't know because Triple H is out there,
Oh, banana.
and Kama he's going to wrestle. So pretty much everybody but Brett and Undertaker are out there right now. But then again,
But an Undertaker would
you wouldn't
be out there.
you wouldn't put Undertaker in this kind of situation because it doesn't fit his character to be one
Yeah.
of the lumberjacks. And I mean, Brett, as big of a star as he was at the time, it would be kind of distracting since he's not part of one of the factions or anything.
Yeah.
To put him out there, he really would feel a little bit out of place having a world champion caliber wrestler who hasn't really been associating with these guys.
Is
He's got his
Owen
own
out there?
storylines. No, I don't think he is. Owen and Yoko.
No, they know
out there.
Undertaker is here, but he's sleeping under the...
But to be fair, Owen and Yoko and Davey Boy and Luger all did just wrestle. Like
That's Undertaker's
Luger was
natural
literally going
habitat.
back through the curtain as other guys were coming out, so
Yeah, isn't
they
it-
probably deserve to not be in the match.
Next year, I think there's a match scenario thing that involves Brett. Oh gosh, was it Diesel and or Hunter?
No.
I don't know.
That-
And Undertaker though. Undertaker is under the ring at one point.
It's Brett and Diesel. And
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Because it was setting up the feud for. It was a way to get out of the match without Brett losing the title, and
Yeah.
without having to have a clean pin, one guy over the other, and also to set up Undertaker and Diesel's feud for their match at WrestleMania that year.
Yeah, I think Brett and Hunter had a match on a show following up.
Undertaker just lives under the...
I was trying to remember which one.
Yeah,
it
Hunter was
though, yeah.
not pay-per-view main event level at that point. But yeah, like I say, I think
blurs together.
Brett had a title match with Undertaker and a title match with Diesel at consecutive pay-per-views, Royal Rumble and the In Your House to start out in '96. I can't remember which was first and which was second.
Uh-huh.
And then, like in each one, the other guy, Diesel or Undertaker, interfered in the match to help propel their feud forward.
I say, didn't Diesel like break Undertaker's casket or something?
I don't recall. I remember their match because WrestleMania 12 in '96 is like my favorite WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And besides the main event with Brett and Shawn, the Diesel Undertaker match always stood. Look at Diesel going over the top
Oh
rope.
damn.
7-footer with the plancha.
Well, there's so many people here. And why is he beating them up?
Yes, according to my friend this past weekend, Diesel destroyed the casket.
Just to get some more action in the match. I mean, you're not going to get enough to be
tall.
satisfactory.
How
From
tall is he?
about 7 feet.
He had no reason to go over and beat him up.
Right in the 6'11", 7 feet
Why would he
range.
do that?
That would be so tall.
Why would
Yeah,
he do
not as
that?
tall as something like Big Show, but
How tall is Big Show? How?
I think Big Show's legitimate 7'1", 7'2". I think he's billed a 7'4", but I think he's a legitimate 7'2". I've seen Big Show in person. He's legitimately tall.
I'd be so tiny next to them.
Like, I haven't stood next to him. I haven't actually met him, but I've seen him in person. He's very tall. Not to say that Kevin isn't very tall in person. I don't... If Kevin was at any of the shows I went to, he didn't stand out as being as tall as Big Show was. Mm-hmm. Which he's not, but, I mean... now the heels are going to pull Diesel back out.
Ow.
Yeah.
Hey, the Minion.
Yeah.
It's the Minion.
The babyface haven't quite gotten wind of what's happening. They're still standing over there like, hey, what's going on? Are they getting Diesel? No, we're good. Sean's in the ring for some reason.
It's for some reason that makes sense. Like, it doesn't, but it does.
No, like I say, Sean helps make this match with his antics.
He's a being silly.
But like I said, this is a way you can take two guys who aren't good workers and still make a satisfying main event out of it because you have all this other stuff going on. And it makes sense within the context of the match because it's a lumberjack match. Even though technically, I guess the idea is they're supposed to just roll the guys back in, but obviously this is always going to happen in a lumberjack match. Either the lumberjacks are going to beat up the participants in the match or the lumberjacks are going to fight with each other, and oftentimes both. It is interesting that the babyfaces haven't really come over to help much as they're beating up on Diesel. The babyfaces are all standing there like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
We don't feel like it.
Earlier they got involved. Right now they're like, wait, something happening? No, I'm sure
some
he's
ball
good.
bag of Doritos over here, and we're kind of like...
It's snack time.
Yeah. Once we're done.
He'll be fine. He can handle it.
Of course, a party-sized bag.
Body-sized bag.
How much punishment could a champion take? If a champion could take punishment, he'd probably take as much as he could. Exactly. And of course, she sells seashells by the seashore.
Yeah, I can say that one.
And Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
But if Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked?
I don't know how much
How about red leather, yellow leather?
Fuck that.
Or unique New York? Okay, enough with the woodchuck. I spent
like a day or two learning. It's like a whole ass day or two learning that.
The guy with the weird red striped armband or elbow pad. I have no idea who that is. If I saw his face, I might recognize him, but I don't recognize the gear. I can name pretty much every other wrestler out there.
So if I just pull up like a PNG of the gears.
You know what? I bet I bet that's Techno Team 2000.
Okay.
I bet that's one of them's Eric Watts, and I can't remember who his partner was. And without seeing their faces clearly, I can't tell who's who.
Yeah.
But I bet that's who that is because this is the right era for that. And like I say, I never really saw them wrestle.
Yeah.
In this, guys, I saw Eric Watts wrestle in WCW in the 90s, but the early 90s. But I bet that's Techno Team 2000. That makes total sense.
Alright. So anyway, if I pulled up PNGs of just the gear, not the wrestlers, could you name most of them?
I don't know. It depends on which ones you pull up. I think I'd have a fighting chance.
I was going to say, I feel like a lot of wrestlers have pretty iconic gear.
But somebody like Sid, unless I can see some of his body, he's just got black trunks.
Yeah. That, like, his is just too standard, but most of them, like, Bam, Brett, Sean,
But then again, when you say gear, if you're going to show me, like, neck down, I'm going to see enough of their body that I should...
Well, no, I managed to get PNGs. It's just the clothes. You can't see anything else, just the clothes.
Well, some of the more distinct ones, yeah. Something like that is like Steve Austin, Goldberg. It could be a lot of guys.
You might be relying on the boots for information there.
True. But even, like, Sid's got just very standard wrestling boots. And I'm sure there are other guys who R. Anderson, Ric Flair could have had... Rick would have had the RF on his boots.
Yeah.
Maybe
Rick, I feel like would have had...
Arn probably would have had, like, Enforcer or something on his trunks. But I'd have to see the 360 then, too.
It might be nice and say you can see the backs.
Sean coming off the double axe handle from the top rope.
Interesting.
Yeah, okay, that's Eric Watts right there.
He doesn't look like he belongs in that decade.
So that's definitely Techno Team 2000 because the one we could see clearly that was Eric Watts, son of legendary wrestling promoter Bill Watts, former quarterback for the University of Louisville. Eric, not Bill. Bill was a lineman, not a quarterback.
Sean almost looks.
And then went Bray Wyatt's daddy over the top rope.
Sean almost looks like he could have a sailor look.
I'm Sean the Sailor Man.
Like, he doesn't have that look. I'm just saying he could have that. It's a look he...
Wow, the big boot was enough to finish it.
Could do.
Easy.
And like I say, having all the lumberjacks out there, it made
So
for a
many
very
people.
enjoyable match. And like, he didn't need a title change here, so I think this was a satisfying way to finish.
Yeah.
Good looking belt too. Love
Daddy
the
Cool Diesel.
That's what Lexi calls him.
Nope.
After seeing the ass.
No.
That's a name. Daddy Cool Diesel.
Still a little bit going on here. We should be just about finished. I don't recall anything major happening at the end. Still don't remember who Eric Watt's tag team partner in Techno Team 2000 was.
Pew pew.
I apologize for that. You were asking me the other day about a wrestler named Duke the Dumpster Drosy. He's in the
Yes.
ring right now. He was one of the lumberjacks. I can't see him in this shot.
Interesting.
All the lumberjacks are carrying axe with them.
That was
No.
this was
An
back.
actual
This was
axe.
back during the era. That's him right there with the blue jumpsuit and the black hat that says Duke.
Ah.
This was during the era of the jobs as gimmicks, where you had the
Yeah.
garbage man, and I mean you
They
can
all played Bobby.
you can even argue that Diesel is a job gimmick because he's like a trucker.
Yeah.
So
Where's the McDonald's worker?
I don't know. At one point you'd have a plumber and you'd have a dentist. There were some questionable gimmicks in the WWF in the mid '90s, but
Yeah.
like I say, I enjoyed it for the most part. This was a good era for me.
Ketchup packets at people.
No, drops like one and somebody slips on it.
Punches them with a burger.
I was gonna say, why not just full on whipping burgers out at people?
It's like stuffs it in their face.
And now we're gonna get the patent WWF highlight video to show the rest of the show. Probably set to the same song they opened up with. Actually, no, this is. I think they're gonna splice in some highlights here in a minute.
Wow.
This was kind
It's
of,
2 frames per second.
A little bit more than that.
but this was a WWE signature, especially for
Yeah.
the big shows where you show some highlights over a music video at the end.
It's
The
on the
logo
Sega
was cut
CD.
off. Partially. It was like half cut off.
Yeah. It does sort of like FMV from a video game from like '95.
Yeah.
I think this is literally what they used for the WWF video game next year.
I mean, save some money. They could.
Well, the highlight from the Bam Bam Bigelow match was Bam Bam standing in the ring. That's all you get.
Well, the cat's not happy about that.
Henry Godwin doesn't even get to...
Why do some have less frames than others? Can't afford frames for this one.
This cat is not happy. What am I doing? Okay, well, I'm going to leave you alone then.
I mean, am I wrong? Some look like they have way less frames than others.
Maybe.
I don't know how quickly they, They obviously put this together very quickly because they did this live after the show. This
Sure.
wasn't a taped
Oh,
show,
gosh.
so...
Some
They're putting this together as the show is going on. And I mean, this is...
They probably just have like one guy in the room specifically to edit this.
I mean, this is videotape. This isn't digital or anything, so...
Gosh.
It's actually really impressive for the time. The Boyhood Dream... No, that would be the next year. Another Cornette cameo.
I would argue that nowadays it would not be a complicated thing to do. I mean, like, streamers do that
It wouldn't be complicated necessarily. I don't know.
easier.
Maybe easier, but it'd still be fairly impressive.
Impressive, yes.
To make highlights from a show that's going live
Yes.
to show as soon as the show ends.
Definitely still impressive,
I mean,
but
this
a
happened
lot
like
easier.
this
than
right
the
here happened like
90s.
2 minutes before this package started.
Yeah.
So I'm still impressed by it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm impressed. I was comparing the technology to how it would be done like, nowadays,
And so
and how like streamers could easily be doing that.
and I've always been impressed with the show overall. What did you guys think?
I enjoyed it.
Like I said,
Good.
I'd probably
It
put
had
it
a
in my,
minion.
I'd probably put it in my top 10, and not just for nostalgia. Like some of the pay-per-views that I really liked when I was first getting into wrestling maybe don't hold up as well, but I just really liked them because of what they meant to me at the time. But I think this one holds up, especially for a 2-hour pay-per-view. I think they packed a lot in. You got a match of the year quality match, and nothing was bad, and lots of it was actually really good. So
I enjoyed
I
it.
really enjoyed the show, and like I say, I enjoyed this era of wrestling, especially in the WWF. There was some stuff in WCW I liked at the time. Some of the Hogan influence was starting to wane a little bit, and you got some good stuff that wasn't Hogan-centric. But I really liked the WWF and their New Generation run. We hope that you enjoyed what we presented to you watching this show, and we hope that you will come back next time. We hope that you'll check out the Patreon, patreon.com/LexiConvo. And, of course, happy birthday to me, if I may say so myself.
Happy birthday, Dad.
Happy birthday.
And don't forget to come back next time when the conversation will continue. But until then, I am and will continue to be Maddie.
Lexi.
Dylan.
And this is LexiCon Concluded.
Bye.